Welcome, Ultraers and Switchy sisters alike, to episode 7 of the weekly episodic gaming-adjacent live-stream podcast show. This is Switch to Ultra, our third ever Super Tuesday episode. We are now only a mere 24 days away from the release of the Nintendo Switch 2, which means only 4 more episodes of this show, counting this one, before that big day on June 5th. But for now, we are still in May. Welcome to the Switch 2 Ultra family. I'm your co-parent, BH Ultra.
And I am your co-parent, Switchy.
And tonight we are joined by special guest from hit video Obligatory Total Drama Video 2024, the Dan, the Man Show.
Yo, what's up? I'm the child they did not want, but I'm here anyways.
And that's ultimately what makes a good family, is a solid foundation. Not the people that wanted to be together or chose to be together, but the ones that were bound together by fate, by broken protection. Now,
If that doesn't scream a loving family, I don't know what does.
Exactly. Love is hard. Anyone that ever says love is easy has truly not felt it. Or never felt it.
Love is a long journey.
Mm-hmm. And I am not excited to start that. Anyway, Switchy, do you know why we are doing a Super Tuesday episode today, of all days?
We are doing it because I was in Atlanta from Wednesday afternoon to yesterday, Monday evening, and that was because I was at a certain convention called Furry Weekend Atlanta, and it's gotten some buzz these past couple days. You know,
I have
it was a fun day.
seen some of that.
Yeah, no, that's why it was kind of interesting. Like apparently it's some of the buzz as the brouhaha has kind of gotten the attention of people who are a little bit outside of this whole community, and it's kind of interesting. I think like, you know, I guess the first thing I would say before anything else is that Furry Weekend Atlanta 2025 was the biggest furry convention of all time.
Oh wow.
Like the number of attendants?
Yeah, number of attendants.
This is physically the biggest.
What's interesting about that, and I guess this is an important kind of point to make, is that what's been happening these past couple of years is that pretty much the most recent big con is the biggest con of all time. And then in a couple months, it'll be surpassed by a different con. So for example, like the 3 big cons, I think, maybe Megaplex is one of them too, are Furry Weekend Atlanta, which happens in May, Anthrocon, which happens in Pittsburgh and happens in July, and Midwest Fur Fest, which usually happens in late November, early December. And that one's in Chicago.
Okay.
A little bit outside Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
And usually what'll happen is that, the new, like FWA gets like God knows how much, and then a few months later it gets surpassed by Anthrocon. Probably it's probably a pretty safe bet that this July Anthrocon is going to surpass FWA. Because that's kind of what happens. But what's so interesting is that I've done this was my third FWA. Mm-hmm. So the first one I did was in 2023. Second one I did was 2024, and you know, you guys can figure out the rest. And this time around, I forget the exact figure, but I'm pretty sure the amount of people that went to this year's FWA was like 17.6 thousand. So that's a lot of people. Mm-hmm. And my first Furry Week in Atlanta, which took place in 2023, had only 10,000 people. So it's gotten a 70% increase in the past 2 years, which is crazy to think about. I mean, I guess furry culture has grown a lot. It seems like that's the case. I was going to say,
do you think like a major boom happened post-pandemic? Because I feel like there's a lot of
people
niche
say
subcultures that really blew up in that time.
It's funny, now that I'm kind of like skirting my mid-20s, mm-hmm. that I know a lot of people now having discourse about, I saw someone making a post about, I hate pandemic furries or whatever. And that is just, I mean, we've talked about it on the show. It's this like annoying thing of 25-year-olds for some reason having a lot of beef with like 20-year-olds or whatever. It's like, bro, I grew up on fucking Wizards of Waverly Place. You grew up on Dog with a Blog. We're so different. We're so
I talked about it
forever
ago, but I remember when there was that like Adult Swim TikTok trend that I really liked, that I remember hearing. I love that trend. A very small and loud voice saying like, these kids didn't watch Adult Swim. It's like, what do you mean? Kids
Mm-hmm.
are definitely still watching Adult Swim. It's a rite of passage. And it's way easier to consume adult content now. Well, adult content quotations.
Yeah,
well, I mean,
exactly.
Yeah, of course, it's definitely easier. I mean, even the networks are trying to get this adult skewing content to show up more on these networks. I mean, I think it's overpassed Cartoon Network's runtime at this point.
And it's just mainly what they're
and-
focusing on. And we don't have to talk about it for elongated periods of time, but there has been a lot of learning with Pibby discourse the week leading up to this episode, the time in between. And I would say that is probably the most valid complaint, although it's not unheard of for Adult Swim to have a show that is quote unquote technically adult, but it seems like the majority of the audience is young children. That's probably not why they didn't go with it. I believe they probably didn't have any intention of going forward with it regardless, but I would hazard a guess that's probably part of why, maybe, but maybe they don't care about that.
Maybe they don't.
Because they've had shows
and,
that got really popular with other audiences that they weren't necessarily shooting for.
It's interesting. I think a big phenomenon, and this is a cultural observation of the past of, frankly, this century, this millennium too, is that giant, big new cultural touchstones aren't coming out as often. There aren't as many things that seem to be definitive of a decade. So people make the observation that the 70s and the 80s and the 90s were felt like a cohesive thing, while 2000s, 2010s, there's less of a unique identity each decade has. And maybe that's just us kind of having a bit of a recency bias about it.
Yeah, I don't know if I agree with that.
Yeah, there's definitely arguments to be made. That is a general thesis I've seen, where that a lot of elements of culture kind of plateaued after 9/11, basically. And I would argue they're against it in a lot of ways, because there are a lot of things that have kind of come in and out, especially when you consider the technology and how that's changed things in just the past 20 years.
This is something we've touched on before, of people made like those nostalgia edits, like, oh man, remember this era? And specifically in the edit, it was like Wind Waker and also Five Nights at Freddy's. It's like, man, these aren't even like maybe you were a kid when both of these came out, but these are definitely not distinct eras. It was like Wii games and like Happy Wheels. Like, man, this is not the same thing.
Dude, were you a kid for 14 years? I guess
like what happened, man?
Be a kid for 14 years.
Grow up, man. But I have always heard that the 2000s are kind of just a holdover from the 90s, and I strongly disagree because of one word. Get ready. Leather. All right? The Matrix came out in 99. There was a bunch of bands that would use it. I don't know if you remember how big leather was. Leather everything in the 2000s. But the Matrix was a moment. Too. So much so that, and I don't want to talk about this for too long, but there are, national, I don't know, I guess a national tragedy. There were like very public and infamous school incidents that people still to this day believe were worn by like people in long leather trench coats, when neither of them were actually wearing that. It just kind of sort of like a Mandela thing, because everyone was wearing leather. I didn't know that.
Interesting. I just assume, when I think of that when I think of that event that I will not go in detail about.
Yeah, the infamous.
I imagine the people involved wearing those kind of long leather jackets, but that's just like
I could be wrong on that, but like all of the footage and images that exist of it are like there's no leather in sight, so maybe there were like first-hand accounts of them wearing it in the parking lot or something. But I associate the 2000s with leather, for better or for worse. Also, there's a very Y2K aesthetic, but Y2K always felt like a marketing scheme more than like the way people actually acted or dressed. Sort of like retro futuristic. And that's what I really like. I'll get to the ranking later, but I really like about a show like Andor, or like any of the new Alien movies, or the most recent Alien movie, is they're like sci-fi set in the future but made in the 70s. So everything is still very analog, and it has its own unique feel to it of like retro futuristic. And also that's the aesthetic of the upcoming Fantastic Four movie. And it's a very specific look that I really, really like and admire.
Yeah.
But I do think there are factors that differentiate the 2010s and the 2000s, specifically like just internet content in general.
Yeah, the way internet content has evolved, and kind of how I think meme culture has developed and in some ways blossomed, in some ways rotted. I think I always like to say that meme culture stopped being a grassroots thing the day that the Savage Wendy's Twitter thing became a thing. Because I think that was one of the first instances where there was a targeted kind of marketing campaign using social media in a way that I think a lot of companies hadn't done yet. It was like Wendy's. Oh, like Wendy's. Why are your like burger patties square? That makes no sense. And they're like, oh, unlike McDonald's, we don't cut corners. Just shit like that. It's like it's like suddenly it's these verified brand accounts trying to be savage. And nowadays people are sick of it. I mean, I know there's a common joke that a meme is dead, like a viral thing is dead once Duolingo kind of chimes in on it. And nowadays Duolingo will chime in on it after 3 days. I mean, there was this like I'm sure you guys know who I'm talking about. I forget his name, but it's this guy who like showed his daily routine, and he starts at like 4 a.m. and he just like bullshits and like wipes banana peels and shit on his face.
I had a thing where like I made a TikTok and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna post it whenever, and I put it in my bookmarks or just put it in my saved or whatever. And because like I felt like I was the only person seeing it, and then a few days passed and I'm like, man, this is old hat. Like this has already been talked about.
Yeah, no, literally. Yeah. So I think that was an interesting thing. You know, I always like to bring up that one of the big changes I've seen in the last 10 years is that millennials and stuff now are now teachers, and they're now supervisors and stuff. You know, I've seen people's classrooms, like friends of mine or people I know who are high school teachers who are just a few years older than I am, and they have like little like Nintendo trinkets in their rooms.
I just hang out
and
in high
that's
school for
crazy
fun.
to me. Yeah, really? It's funny. Actually, my friend told me earlier today, she's like, oh yeah, I was at my old high school. And I'm like, why
Dude,
the fuck
I always
were you at your
heard
old high
about that, and I
school? You're
remember
like
that like
22.
graduated seniors or people showing, not seniors, but showing up is like, can they just like walk around? Is this a public place?
You can get a visitor's pass.
Like a safety issue. I've heard of them doing it at a college. That makes sense at a college, but not a high school.
Maybe I had a different
You
experience.
usually would need permission.
I drove back to my high school like maybe a year or two after I graduated to watch like the show they were putting on, and I felt like a deep sinking pit in my stomach when I was in the parking lot, and I was like freaking out. I never want to go back there.
For real. That's valid. That's really valid. What was I saying? Fuck.
Nintendo.
Oh well, I guess like I now see, you know, people whose classrooms they have like little like Nintendo trinkets in their rooms. And that's always been interesting to me because I think as a kid, when I was a kid, I don't want to, you know, like adults in my life did not play video games. Not at all. My parents were already adults by the time that like home video game consoles became popular. So it never became like a habit for them or a thing they do in their free time. So the idea of someone over the age of 30 playing video games was just like nonsense to me. Like I assumed that that's just a thing that would never happen. But now people have gone older and they didn't stop playing video games. Actually, my boss, who's in his 40s, he was posting in the group chat earlier today
in the Slack
that he's like staying home and playing in the fucking Slack that he was staying home and playing Oblivion. And it's
that is
and I can't even imagine that, because as a kid I just like my life, it felt like video games were a thing that I wasn't really allowed to do or something that was bad for me. And I think in a lot of ways that paradigm has lessened. And I think a big part of it is just the fact that people who grew up playing video games are now adults and they now have their own professional lives. And because it was a meaningful hobby for them as they were kids, they kept doing it.
I have seen a huge, not resurgence, but just that is a very common trend with millennials and even like older Gen Z is not really, and I'm not saying this is a bad thing. I actually think it's really empowering, is not letting go of those things that are viewed as childish.
Yeah.
Just collecting their plushes or Pokemon cards. Granted, I do think there's a fine line walking between adults enjoying things predominantly made for children and adults taking up those children's spaces. And that's a common discourse about having no spaces for children on the internet. And I've always been very staunch in my take that I'm like, if kids want to watch TikTok, like you have to have a TikTok account to watch them. So if they want to watch TikToks or watch YouTube or post on Instagram, I think I'm very flat about my opinion of kids being on Twitter or Discord. I think those are just straight up not places for children at all. So I don't mind when people are having like bluey discourse on Twitter or whatever, because I'm like, well, if you're arguing with a kid on Twitter, if I accidentally end up yelling at a kid on Twitter or whatever, they just straight up should not be there. And maybe I'm using that as a
Mhm.
smokescreen so that I don't need to like let down or anything. But I mean, when
I
I
mean,
was
what's the cutoff for kid, I guess, in your eyes?
like a legal adult.
So you think like full 18? Okay.
Yeah.
All
I
right.
guess you
I mean,
would-
I see what you're saying. I think that like I don't know. I think there's like a gray area kind of thing. Like I
it's
think
definitely
maybe like
impossible to police.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I know some states have done like they're doing the whole thing where they're trying to ban it if you're like under 13 after like 10 o'clock or so. I don't know the whole details or anything.
Yeah.
But like it just it seems like an inevitability at this point, and
Yeah.
you either are gonna fight it or you're gonna embrace it. But if you're gonna fight it, I'm sorry to say that you're gonna fail at some point, and at least the people who are embracing it are already preparing and have already gotten to the steps where they're integrating it. Like I don't think I would have ever seen like elementary or middle school class with like the technological like things that we have today, like getting in trouble so much for like using your phone or something, and now like you have the teachers using their phones to do these lesson plans and whatnot, and that's how they do their homework too. And it's just like,
Dan, have you seen the F student trend on TikTok as of late? Have
No,
either of
I
you
haven't.
seen this? All right, let me
I don't use TikTok.
let me open this up for you. Let me show
Neither
you
do
guys, because this isn't gonna change your tune, and I'm not using this as an argument, but what you just said just like zapped it back into my brain and reminded me. It's gonna play. Okay, let's see. I'm just gonna look up F student. I hope nothing weird shows up when I'm looking at this. Okay. So that's where on the very tail end of being in school is when we were sort of given a technology to like bring up, but I think it was only the seniors, if I remember correctly. All right, let me. Yeah, here we go. Let me bring this up on stream. So a recent trend, it's an audio where like some grind set business guy is talking about different students. Like if you're an F student, that just means you're so creative and you couldn't focus in class because you're thinking of business ideas. And people have used this audio to videos like this
business, but truly wants to invent
of just
something,
kids
he just doesn't
absolutely
know how to do it.
destroying
And then
their
you got
Chromebooks and
students.
laptops they're
The
given for
students
some
are
reason.
inventors. They're
okay,
so
yes, okay,
creative,
okay. I
but they
have
couldn't
seen this
sit in
before.
class.
I know
Right.
it was called the F students trend. I thought it was like, I thought it was like called like the like the Chromebook trend or something.
Yeah. Well, when you see people on the news talking about it, it's like it's a recent challenge that kids are, because everything is a challenge when there's like a trend going on. I've seen people like put paper clips in outlets and just put. I saw one dude like soldering his fucking Chromebook, just absolute doing shit like this. This is all fun.
Like just doing dumb shit in class.
I see people like just throwing. Okay, this is the audio, but I want to see if I could find. I won't be able to find anymore, but I've seen people over this last trend, just if we want to call it that, just absolutely destroying the school's hardware, which is going to make it harder for other people to have. And ultimately, I don't care what kids are up to, but I've definitely seen trends where the trend is just destroying something. And I kept my tongue tied, or I kept my mouth shut about the chicken jockey situation. But as someone who worked at a movie theater, that shit pissed me off. I did not like that at all.
I think it's ridiculous. I mean, call me like a stickler all you want, but like I think it's very uncool to like destroy property for a trend. I think that's really, really not cool. I think that's actually like fucked up. And obviously the chicken jockey thing wasn't always destroying property. I've heard actually some horror stories where that has been the case with, I don't know, I think it was a theater seat possibly. But, even like making a big mess, I think is ridiculous. I think that's like, just, it's one thing to like say it and cheer. That's fine. It's annoying, but it's not hurting anybody. But like to throw your popcorn all over is whatever. And the fact that like companies like Warner Bros are like, listen, we hear ya. So why don't you go to these specific screenings where you can then party and make messes and, be goofy and loud and whatnot. It's like people are saying, oh, that's a really good idea. That'll really thin out the riffraff. A, it won't. And B, you're just making it twice as hard for the theater staff.
It bombed on re-release. But I've constantly seen this.
It bombed on re-release because it's still out.
Yeah.
It's still out.
So for our uninitiated audience, and by uninitiated audience I mean me,
Sure.
what exactly is the chicken jockey thing? Like, was it just people like screaming whenever that scene happened in the
It
movie?
started
or what?
with screaming. It started with people saying chicken jockey along with the Jack Black's character, Minecraft Steve, in the movie. And then they started,
Okay.
you know, in the span of a couple days, because the internet moves very quickly, tried to one-up
Mhm.
themselves by everyone jumping up and applauding, everyone screaming, everyone like throwing their popcorn in the air, and then
Someone brought a chicken.
some dude like dumped his soda on the guy in front of him. Yeah, and then eventually one dude just released an actual chicken into the theater. Cops were called, fights happened. Like, it just, everyone tried to one up themselves. And I don't really go to concerts often, so Switchy, you could probably talk about this more. But I've definitely heard people talk about again, like another, like, oh, this crop of kids post-pandemic, whether or not it's people blowing smoke out of their ass or it's a real issue, of the etiquette of concerts when it comes to focusing more on how you are perceived and what you can post and what content you can make
I
out of a
am
social
strongly
situation.
opinionated on that.
Go
I
ahead.
am strongly opinionated. And, you know, here's the thing. So actually, what the biggest TikTok I've ever posted was and this is, you know, it's corny or whatever. People can make fun of me all I want. You know, there was a like early 2023, there was a joke someone posted in like the Death Grip subreddit where it's like, I'm gonna wear this to the concert, and it's like a spin, it's like a propeller hat and like overalls and shit. And that kind of became a trend where people would occasionally go to the concert just dressed like that. So me and a couple of my friends, they're actually kind of like somewhat decently well-known people on like music Twitter circles. We decided to go to our local Death Grip show wearing that. I posted a TikTok of it, and we just, you know, we were just normal people in the show, just kind of watching it, wearing something kind of silly. And I didn't get much hate on TikTok, but my two friends got a lot of shit thrown their way on Twitter. And because the thing is,
that's not cool.
one thing that happened was during that tour, you know, there was a lot of, you know, there's a lot of shit going on because Death Grips is I don't want to say a meme band, because that implies that they are that like their music is a joke. It's not a joke. It's you know, it's for those of you who don't know, it's kind of a experimental kind of industrial hip hop act that blends a lot of genres together. It's really good music. It's really cool music. But ever since, first of all, actually I'll say that later. They have a bit of a following that's kind of tongue in cheek. So a lot of people shit post, a lot of people like make memes and stuff. And that's, in my opinion, it's been the case since they first started out. But there were a lot of instances, apparently at one show, like someone just like fucking peed on the fucking ground and shit like that.
Oh my
god. You know, people were wearing silly costumes. Eventually there was a point where someone was throwing stuff at the stage, and like halfway through the show, the guys in the band just said like, you know, fuck this, and they walked off stage. And I don't know, I don't remember if they canceled the tour after that or not, or if they just kind of stopped that show. But eventually that immediately started discourse about this like quote unquote attention seeking behavior.
Yeah.
And the fact that oh, everyone just wants to go to the concerts to cause trouble or whatever. And I don't like that because, first of all, especially GA shows, if you don't know, GA shows are general admission shows where there's no seating really. It's just people kind of like gathering around a stage. There's not often that much protecting the people on stage. So it's kind of an implicit understanding that you respect the people on stage, but it doesn't take much to break that respect and have some shit asshole start kind of trying to do, you know, throw things at them. You know, even at shows I've been at that go well, you'll occasionally hear like people in the audience just like yelling mean shit or yelling like, oh, play this song, et cetera, at people. And it's disrespectful, it's rude, stuff like that. And it obviously, but that's obviously not comparable to peeing on the fucking ground. But actually, that's the thing, is that like my friends got a lot of hate when all they did was wear silly costumes.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of an inside joke for fans of the band. And they were kind of said, oh, well, this is all part of the same problem. And first of all, I don't think it is part of the same problem. I think there's a difference between wearing, you know, like concert, like outfits to a to a show for fun, and obviously being overtly disruptive to other patrons and or the people on stage. But even if that wasn't the case, well, actually, my friends were being kind of like said, "Oh, you're the reason Death Grips like broke up," which they actually didn't break up. Like just a few months ago, like we found out that they're still open to making music. But even if that wasn't the case, the main point I want to make is that there have always been assholes. There have always been people who overreact for attention. There's always been people who do crazy fucking things to get negative attention. I don't think it's really been it's much like a really new thing. And I don't like when people act like it is, you know, especially, you know, one of my favorite books of all time is Our Band Could Be Your Life by Michael Ozerod. And that was a book about a lot of the big, well, not big actually, a lot of the underground rock bands in the 80s that kind of paved the way for the alt explosion, I guess. I don't know. Nirvana's the big one, but like the kind of like development of alt rock in the 90s. So that's like bands like Minutemen, like bands like Minor Threat, and bands like Fugazi. And one of the things you find out, especially in the punk scene, is how fucking like how rowdy these shows were. I mean, you had fights breaking out, you had people like screaming and throwing shit, and you would have you know instances where people on the fucking stage would have physical fights with patrons. So. And
I do sort of hate that at punk shows. Maybe I'm too soft, but like moshing is one thing, but I've seen people like in mosh pits that very clearly are just like, I'm gonna find the smallest person here and I'm gonna kick them in the head. Like that's not the spirit of moshing.
Yeah, but I'm not even talking about that. I'm just talking about outright troublemakers who are just going there to cause trouble and just kind of like cause a scene and shit like that. And there's tons of stories about that even back then. And I think the fact of the matter is that for a lot of rebellious and I don't want to say uncouth, but this kind of music, well, not even just this kind of music, you're gonna have shitty people.
Yeah.
And I guess you know there's things you can say and do about shitty people. I guess one thing I don't like is when people just kind of talk about, oh man, back in my day we respected each other. It's like, I don't know.
For real.
Well, for general admission shows, there's a high trust community is what you were saying.
Yeah, and I think there's always been issues. I mean, I think in the book there's so many points, especially in the Fugazi section, about how Fugazi would like bend over backwards to just like deal with you know people causing trouble. And there's tons of little stories about it. I just love the band Fugazi
because you don't want to be the one that's like telling people to stop, because then you get marked as lame or something.
Yeah. But not even that with that band, but yeah.
The first Super Tuesday episode we did was because I was in Vegas the weekend prior for WrestleMania. And whenever that happens, whenever the WWE has a huge event in a city, a bunch of other like smaller wrestling organizations kind of congregate there and have their own shows. And when you're at like a WWE event, there's barricades and a ton of security and everything going on. But going to these indie wrestling shows are a lot like just indie music or any under other indie scene, where it's just like 100 people sitting in chairs right in front of the ring, and the wrestlers will sometimes just straight up jump into the chairs. Like there's it's a trust there. You need to be like a community member. Although anyone could buy tickets, like there's a stigma there. And when you're at a huge wrestling show, you can kind of just scream whatever and make the people around you laugh. But when you're at like one of those, like you respect what they're doing in the ring and you don't want to make it about yourself. There has been a whole thing in wrestling about like putting yourself over. And in talking about like how the idea that this is only a recent thing, that audience members are there to like show themselves off. The only difference now is that everyone has a camera in their pocket and can record things. When you watch old wrestling footage, this has been a thing in the wrestling community or a wrestling organization have talked about, like, how do we bring signs back? How do we convince people to bring these signs? Because if you ever watch old footage, like every other seat is holding up a sign, and that's the aesthetic of the time. But the reason that happened is so you could hold up your sign on the show, and then when you go home and watch the show on TV, you could find yourself. You could point at the screen and say like, "Oh, look there I am, Gary, there I am." But when you're have your phone, you could just like record where you're sitting and post it on your story. There's no purpose to bring a sign, because if you want your thoughts to get across, people already know you're there. And we could pretend that like people don't like posting about places they go. I like living in the moment, but whenever I am somewhere, sometimes I like to take a picture or video just so I can post something about it. It doesn't mean I'm recording the whole thing or consuming or engaging with the entire piece behind a camera. It just means I filmed like something. I think that's
I definitely agree.
Shows.
And yeah, I think and for large shows, there's always more of a security presence. There's more of a distance between the audience and the performer. And because of that, there are fewer ways that an audience member can completely just fuck shit up.
Yeah.
Although not always. I mean, there's still instances where even big performers have people like kind of throw shit at them and stuff.
Around this time, last year in May, the three of us, we were actually in Atlanta together if I remember correctly. Because we were at
a week later, but yeah.
Oh yeah, is it the same time every year?
Yeah, it's
last year was weird because
fourth Sunday, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so last year was weird because normally it's Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, but last year it was Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Thanks, Disney Lorcana.
Nice going.
I forgot about that.
Wait, what?
But yeah,
is
actually,
that?
it's funny.
That's why it was. That's why it was Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Because Thursday there was a Disney Lorcana thing, and that's why.
Oh right,
it's like a Disney card game thing.
Yeah, I did see people that were like coming from there.
Signs for that.
Ubers were talking about it. Yeah. At some point in the event,
nobody liked it because they kept having to reroute escalators and staircases. I'm like,
dude, that was a nightmare.
So many escalators for us to use. Just let us use it, please. You have to walk all the way to the back. I've been there twice, and last year's I really enjoyed last year's, but it was a mess.
Yeah, that was my first year last year, and there was stuff on the bottom floor and stuff on the top floor. So if you wanted to cross between them, you needed to go up and down 2 sets of escalators. And that's where all the traffic was triangulated. So everyone was there. And we were like salmon. We were just jammed in there. I totally forgot about that. All I remember is leaving the convention, going to Waffle House, and then deciding to go see the Garfield movie.
Which was the most fun I had.
That was so much fun.
I guess that's... Actually... No, go ahead.
Oh, well, actually, this kind of goes back to the FWA thing, because over the last weekend, there were so many insane decisions. Well, first of all, as I said, there's almost twice as many people at this con than just 2 years ago. And the place that in Atlanta that FWA is kind of held at is actually only 2 or 3 blocks away from where MomoCon is held. It's over at the Peachtree Center, and there's a couple of hotels that are kind of connected by Skybridge. And it was a good venue for 10,000 people, but as this con gets bigger and bigger, it's getting more and more clustered. So, there were points in time where security personnel would hold their arm in front of you to stop you from going up an escalator because they just wanted to control traffic. There were so many choke points, and most of the con, I was avoiding all the crowds. I couldn't even get into the dealer's den or anything the first 2 days. And even if I wanted to, I would have had to get this virtual queue thing and get a time that I was allowed to go to the dealer's den. And even then on Saturday, I was supposed to go in at 2 p.m. I went and saw the line that that was so long it got to the other hotel. And I'm like, dude, fuck this. I don't want to buy tchotchkes that much. So I didn't go until Sunday afternoon. And so basically it's this con of 17,000 people that's being relegated to a collection of ballrooms. It's insane. Yeah. And I think one of the sad things, and this is it seems that every con has all these ridiculous little logistic issues, but this is definitely one of the worst experiences I've had in terms of, wow, I just cannot do a lot of the things I'm supposed to be able to do at this con. But what I thought was also ridiculous is that the main hotel, they're remodeling the escalators. So the main escalators in the hotel are literally boarded up and completely shut down. And this is the biggest event the hotel sees a year. It's why it's not like there's it needs maintenance. They are outright, tearing it apart and rebuilding it. And they're doing that for their biggest event. It's insane.
I feel like I've heard so many stories like that of venues that are just not prepared for the audience they're about to get, or drastically underestimate the amount of people that are going to show up.
Yeah, well, I think they probably saw it coming. I think what's so interesting, and I guess it is kind of interesting, I was talking about it with someone at the convention. They're probably right about this, is that I think a big reason this whole all this crazy shit took place is because these conventions are probably contracted with the venues for 5 or 10 year increments, maybe 3 years. And because of that, they're locked into this venue for a while. So there's a very decent chance that we might have to stick with this shit for a while longer, when honestly, what they probably should do, how many people go to MomoCon? 30,000? More or less?
That sounds about right.
Yeah, we're kind of pushing those numbers. I think the Georgia World Congress Center would be lovely for Furry Week in Atlanta. It's really close by. The only annoying thing is that actually it'd be harder to get food, because Furry Week in Atlanta, they can't totally fleece you for food, because 1 second. I don't know if you heard that. They can't fleece you for food because they have a food court that's connected to the hotel where they sell stuff at normal prices. But you know, at like MomoCon, they charge you like $15-$16 for like a shitty personal pizza.
Water for you
that's
and
one
Little
thing
Caesars for your people.
I'll let you know that I think FWA and Papa John's is the crossover we need, not
For
the
real.
crossover we deserve.
Bring the Noid out. Get him in there. Get Domino's in there. Get the Noid to hang out in a big costume. My goal last year, I'm not going this year just because of other airfare, but my goal last year, because I always have like a main goal, at least for like my platform, each individual year, was to like go to all the major events that I always wanted to, or that I heard about that I thought people would be at. And the one I didn't go to was like Comic-Con, because it was close to proximity to other stuff. And I always heard and like seen cool things when it comes to animation or shows that I like there. But like you were saying of the lines wrapping around, most of what I've heard is that like 80% of being at Comic-Con is waiting in a line for something, which is not something I necessarily want to do. As I get older and older and like just kind of cement my platform and become people's peers, although I'm still fans of the people I'm peers with, I think you could be fans
Sorry, what'd you say?
I'm still like fans of people I'm peers with. I think you can still be fans of people you're friends with, even if you still like what they're doing. That like these big events when there's like, oh, you can meet this creator or this YouTuber or the streamer or whatever. I have less of a desire to like go up and meet them and have them like sign something because I'm like, man, I might work with this person someday. I just don't want to wait in line for anything nowadays, honestly. It's kind of stumble across.
Dude, I'm not waiting in line to like get a fucking picture with someone for $10 to $15.
Yeah, when I was at VidCon, I just wanted to people watch. I didn't want to wait in line for Smosh. Like, they're cool and all, but I'm like a couple degrees disconnected from that, I think. I'm nowhere near that level, but...
Well, yeah. I mean, one thing that's common at anime conventions is that you'll have like a billion freaking voice actors and actresses kind of like set up booth and stuff. And I think you're actually allowed to go up and talk to them without paying them to, you know, say something for you or take a picture or sign something.
Yeah.
But I didn't know that, so I never did it. And also, I didn't want to wait in line.
Yeah, why would you wait just to talk to them? I don't get that.
Rebel Taxi back in the day would have like intros by voice actors, and it was always like footage of him like walking up to them at the table and saying like, oh, can you say this? I have too much anxiety. I can't imagine like going up to someone at a table, be like, "Oh, could you read this off?" And it's like some shit I wrote. It's like, you know, I don't want to do this.
Like,
I have to imagine he wears a sign around his neck that says, "I have 500,000 subscribers on YouTube." So, you know,
he wears a sign that says, "I'm Rebel Taxi, beat me up."
Dude, I gotta do that. I have 60,000 subscribers on YouTube. Just like walk around, tell that to
when
people.
I was at TwitchCon, I told this story. I accidentally stumbled into a phase party, which is like a big Twitch org or something. And I was just hanging out with people, and we started like drinking and going down we were just like, we plan on hanging out later that night. And some of them I didn't really know. One of them was like a model they met at the bar. And we were talking later, and they were like trying to get us all into this party. And it was, you know, it's a party for like fucking 18-year-old or 20-year-old, like, frat dudes, and they're like, only girls, we're only letting girls in, we don't want too many guys in here. And so they were finding a way to like get us in as well. And I had already, like, some of these people knew who I was, so they were on the phone with this person at the party, and they all looked around and they said, oh, tell them that he has 100,000 subscribers, say that and get us in. And I was like, please do not say that. I don't want to. Such like a dickhead thing I don't want to do that. Then I got to answer questions. But yeah, I mean, we're using the past MomoCon to circle around to our points, is that you know that meme of like, oh, you don't want me in a social situation because I'll always be the person that's like, oh, why don't we just go home? Why don't we just all go live? Why don't we cancel? Why don't we go home? I'm like that when it comes to going to the movie theater. Any opportunity that I'm hanging out with people and we're chopping it up, that I could be like, you know what? Let's go see a movie. I'll always take that opportunity because I love going to the theater. And that's what they were trying to do with the Minecraft block party meme along, is I've constantly seen headlines of being like, how do we get people to come back to the theater? You know, how do we make movie theaters a fun experience? And the answer for them is always like, oh, we got to make it interactive. We got to make it so people could post about this. But that's not the crux of a movie theater. I think that is like an inconvenient fact, is that a lot of younger people, or just people in general, would rather watch a movie at their home. I wouldn't. I hate watching movies on the couch. I love going to the movie theater. But For me, honestly, what I have heard from most people is the easiest way to make movie theaters accessible is to have movies in theaters for longer and just to make it cheaper.
Yeah,
Agreed.
I mean,
AMC just announced that they're slashing prices
They're doing like
on
50%
Wednesdays in summer.
yeah.
And
If
it's
not
like,
more.
okay, that makes sense. We want this. We don't want fucking arcade machines and rock climbing walls in AMCs. I don't go to AMC to rock climb. I go to AMC to watch the Air Bud 5 movie, okay?
Yeah, there
Give me
are
Air Bud 5.
Apple at AMC, bro.
There are people that go to the movies regularly, and there are people that have like 1 or 2 movies a year. And that's the feedback when it's come to Marvel movies, is when I think I'm a little bit more kind to a lot of them, because there's a crop of people that grew up watching them that will only go to the theater to see superhero movies. And when they see one that's bad, they'll be like, this is the worst thing ever. This is the biggest piece of garbage, because all they know are superhero movies. And I, who like sees more slop than the average person, I'm like, yeah, it was okay. Ant-Man was okay. Also, I've been watching these movies for a while. I don't believe anyone that thinks that The Marvels is the worst one, because I was in the theater in 2014 seeing Thor 2: The Dark World. That shit sucks. That one's awful.
Fuck the Dark World, dude.
Sucks.
I think we have a lot of rose-tinted
Honestly,
glasses about
Incredible Hulk
2017 to 2019. Dude, 2014, that era of Marvel, all of those movies were bad.
Wait, what came out in 2014 again? I know Thor.
It was like
Guardians of the Galaxy.
Guardians was good.
I like Guardians.
Yeah, I'm trying. I mean, like there were more. I guess like
Winter Soldier,
Doctor Strange
bro, you're
1, more ones that fell under the radar.
I like Winter Soldier.
I like Winter Soldier.
Winter Soldier was the best.
I'm just saying people are deluding themselves, because in 2017 there was like a run of 5 really good Marvel movies in a row. And I think people believe that they were always good to fantastic, which was never the case. They just got a really good stretch of movies one time.
Yeah, I would honestly argue, and maybe this is a little bit harsh, I feel like Marvel movies didn't really like get good until like 2014 or 2015. Yeah, straight up.
There was a period where it went Guardians
Iron
2,
Man's great.
Thor Ragnarok, Black Panther, Infinity War. I'm like, oh, those are really good movies.
Yeah.
But that's the best they've ever done.
Iron Man is good. Iron Man 2 is like, I don't really like it that much.
Yeah.
I fucking hate The Incredible Hulk. That movie bored the shit out of me. I hate the fucking
like not MCU. That's not
Incredible
MCU.
Hulk, yes, it is.
It is?
Well, you gotta watch it if you want to understand Captain America 4: the Red Hulk's in this one.
Pulls up right at the end. But like it is kind of weird because they cast Edward Norton and then they recast him. Apparently, the movie originally had a much longer script, and like Edward Norton wanted it to be more of a character piece.
Above Opus, I think. I saw Fight or Flight this weekend. Oh, by the way, I haven't finished any of these yet. I'm close to finishing Daredevil. The rest of these, I'm obviously watching The Last of Us and The Rehearsal and Andor as it airs. I haven't finished Andor because I'm watching one a week. The Rehearsal continues to be the best thing on TV. I just wanted to get that in there. I saw Fight or Flight with Josh Hartnett because there was nothing else to watch and I liked Trap. I'll say it. I like Trap. But yeah, I love going to the theater, but I would say the average person doesn't really go as often. Because, one, it's expensive for people. I use the AMC deal, and every time I talk about this, it talks like I'm trying to pitch a religion to people. Because movies is my religion. You know, I go to the altar every weekend. I do my ceremony. I chant along with Nicole Kidman. And then I eat my little snacks. You know, it's ceremony for me. I think my roommate's vacuuming upstairs. I don't know if you guys can hear that. But
I hear like a ringing.
Oh, bummer. All right, well...
I don't give a fuck. Whatever, dude.
I can't hear anything.
Okay, we're good. Abbott Elementary's best show on television, says Twitch chat. I think it's funny. I don't think it's particularly like hilarious, at least not other stuff. But the more movies you see every week, the more stuff you're going to encounter. And I'm really excited for the upcoming months of May and June. But every opportunity I have, I always want to go to the movie theater because as much as it's like a fun social event, I do know that a big obstacle for a lot of people is they don't want to go to the movie theaters alone. And I love doing that. I love in the middle of the day rolling up to a theater when I'm not doing anything.
Dude, going alone is the best. It is.
Dude, I couldn't do that.
Best. I mean,
dude,
unless
honestly,
I'm going to like a movie that's like a fun, stupid movie. Like, I think I would not have liked Garfield as much if I wasn't with you guys. But like, you know, for the most part, going to a movie theater alone is like, ugh, please, that is my nirvana.
It's so
you guys
relaxing.
Want to hear a confession?
Yeah, definitely.
The last time I went to see a movie in the movie theater was Garfield.
Oh no.
You gotta get out there. You gotta get out there.
Yeah,
man.
I guess. Well, for me,
you
there's
sinner.
a lot.
You didn't see. You
2025.
gotta see Sinners in theaters, obviously. But
I have not seen it.
You didn't
I'm
support
so upset.
Catch Up Entertainment's Looney Tunes the day the Earth blew up.
Yeah, dude, I'm like a fake animation fan.
Wow.
Wow.
I didn't love that movie. I like it more on principle than like the movie
Dude,
itself.
I probably have David Zaslav on speed dial.
Yeah.
Like I'm probably
us
in
out.
on it.
We're hiding under the floorboards and
cahoots.
like, they're here. I found them.
His nickname Bestie on your phone.
We've got little heart emojis next to it. I'm excited for Coyote versus Acme.
I guess for
off
me,
of
that
principle
What I'm
alone.
excited about.
like I think the last few movies I think I've seen it in person, and I think going with people is a big part of it for me. Is that I think the fucking Garfield movie. I think a few months earlier I went to see I can't pronounce it, an Agatha Christie novel movie with my parents.
Okay.
One of those like Murder on the Orient Express ones.
Yeah, dude, I fucking love Hercule Poirot. I love that shit. I love that shit.
Definitely.
But that's like the only two I can remember in recent memory. So
I
also meant to see Dune too, but I was going with a friend and he accidentally got Spanish language tickets.
LOL. That's
So we're like,
awesome.
okay, El Dune dos. We just left.
I'm upset because like I'm looking at the upcoming movies. I'm just thinking there's like nothing we can see when we're at MomoCon. I mean, there's movies coming out, but like there's nothing we could see that's just like a sit down and like watch kind of movie.
Time to watch Final Destination.
I know I want to see the new Mission Impossible.
Yes.
But I know not everyone is like caught up on Mission Impossible. And the fact that it's a part 2 makes it even harder.
I'm getting caught up. I'm watching all of them.
You're back.
Somebody in the chat said this earlier, reminded me to talk about it. I do want to talk about it. The last couple weeks or months or so, I've been watching every Karate Kid, Mission Impossible, and Final Destination movie because I knew that they were going to have new movies coming out in May. And then I'm soon going to do it with all the Jurassic Park and 28 Days Later movies because of the new ones. And then later with Tron and Avatar. I like doing this whenever there's a franchise movie. So, we could talk first time watching all the Karate Kid movies. And I said everything I had to say about the older Karate Kid movies. The only one I had watched prior to this was the 2010 remake. And a couple days ago, I rewatched Karate Kid 2010. Does anyone here has seen Karate Kid 2010 with Jaden Smith and Jackie Chan? Or remember anything about it? So the original Karate Kid is a story of an inner city kid in New York whose mom is like, you know what, we need a change of scenery. So they move to California. And it's a huge shakeup for him, but it's reasonable that he would move from New York to California, right? It's like, oh man, I gotta learn how things work around here. The remake, they live in Detroit, and the mom's like, okay, we need to mix this up. And they move to China.
It's so funny. Dude,
what does the mom canonically do for work?
And she doesn't speak Chinese. Nobody in China speaks Chinese. They all speak English.
The one thing I remember from that movie is Jaden Smith watching SpongeBob in Chinese.
That rules.
That's the one thing I remember.
And then they try and it is a remake, but it's a different story because the kid does kung fu, not karate, and Jackie Chan is not Mr. Miyagi. I love when legacy sequels do this, where instead of doing a direct remake, they just imply that this very mundane thing happens every generation. That happened with the Paramount Heather show, where they're like, yeah, this school exploding actually happens every 10 years, and it's the same people every time. But
that's very funny.
The Karate Kid 2010, the original Karate Kid, the training montage is obviously like, oh, wax on, wax off, paint fence, paint defense, and doing all these manual labor tasks that teach him how to be good at karate. And in the Karate Kid 2010, the one thing he does is wear his jacket, remove the jacket, put it on the floor, pick it up, and hang it on the fence. Right. But instead of saying wax on, wax off, which is like an iconic movie line, Jackie Chan is standing in front of Jade Smith and he says, jacket on, jacket off, jacket on, jacket off. I'm like, what am I watching, man? What is this?
That sounds like a fucking like sex offense.
Yeah. Well, those are my thoughts on the Karate Kid 2010. Yeah, I wanted to get in there. Dan, we'll talk about Nintendo in a second, but do you have a Mission Impossible ranking? Because people have been fighting about this.
Oh God, I don't even. You know what? I can't do it right now because I have not seen the first 3 in forever. Although I'll say they probably would be towards the bottom.
Yes.
I'm one of the guys who thinks that, like, I don't think it like always gets better every single time, but I will say the latter half has been better than the first half.
Yeah, it's insane that like as soon as Ghost Protocol happens that they like get immensely better. I like 1. I don't like 2 or 3. That might be a hot take.
Again, I don't remember. I gotta go back and watch it again. Like it's been on my list for a while because I also want to watch the fucking Naked Gun movies before the next Naked Gun movie.
Isn't that September?
It is. So okay, yeah. Or it's like August or September. I'm like, damn, I've never seen these, and I really want to see these. And it's like for the first time ever, it like what seems like forever, I watched the teaser for this comedy movie, and I laughed.
Dude,
I laughed.
I'm glad you do the same thing where whenever a franchise movie comes out, I like watching all of the previous installments. 2 years ago, I did it for Fast and Furious, watched all those movies for the first time in a row. And that was an insane experience. I did it with Rocky when it came to Creed. But yeah, this year, it's doing Final Destination, Mission Impossible, Karate Kid, and then moving over to Jurassic Park, and then 28 Days Later, and then later in the year doing the Tron series, which is 2 movies, and then the Avatar series, which is also 2 movies. Because I've never seen a lot of those.
Did he do it for James Bond or no?
No, what was the last one that came out? Because that was like a while
23,
ago.
I think.
Oh, really? I don't think I saw that at all.
That was No Time to Die.
Oh no, I did not.
And I think that's the last Daniel Craig one.
YouTube chat is saying, do you need to learn about Scientology to watch Mission Impossible? No, all you need to know is it's about the power of friendship. Ghost Protocol onward, it's really just about how much Ethan Hunt loves his friends. And ultimately, that's what it's all about. And then Twitch chat says Cobra Kai used to be good when YouTube was making it. That is funny though. That's the most famous YouTube Red series. I haven't seen that. I can't imagine it's like important to watch.
I think my parents watched it.
Also, I'm sorry about Karate Kid. I'm sorry that you wasted your time with that.
Oh, I mean, I'm glad I watched them. You know, that's another. It's on my letterbox now, so I know that I watched it, and then I never have to go back to it again. I can know that I watched it. The second movie is Daniel-san Goes to the East, and it's I don't want to play into stereotypes, but I think that's what the movie is doing. That the first movie, he's got like a every Karate Kid movie of the original trilogy, there's a different love interest because they lose the previous one, and then they unceremoniously they're like, yeah, she died off screen, or like she cheated on him off screen, just to like move on to the next one.
Wait, really?
Yeah, like they don't get the actresses back, so they're like, yeah, she left town or she cheated on him or something. And in the first movie, he has like a spunky, very outwardly and like abrasive California love interest who he has a lot of chemistry with. And she pushes back against the bullies. And then the second movie he has, and I'm not saying this just to be weird about it, I'm saying this because I believe this is what the movie's doing. The very like the post-war Asian stereotype of like a very docile and submissive wife that's like like always agreeing with what you're saying, and the fantasy of like flying overseas and claiming an Asian wife to like do your bidding or whatever, which is still a very common stereotype.
Yeah,
maybe that's pretty harsh criticism for the Karate Kid Part 2, but I did not care for it at all. So those are my feelings on the Karate Kid. Very
How can
discourse.
I make this about American expats in Thailand? How can I make Karate Kid 2 about Southeast Asian tourism?
But we need to get people to go.
Was there a third one?
There was a third one. I fell asleep during it, so I don't remember what happened.
Right.
But weirdly enough, it's an idea. It starts like Cobra Kai. Like it follows the Cobra Kai. Like it follows. By the way, the master of Cobra Kai is named John, and the kid's name is Johnny, not to be confused with John. And it follows how they like feel that reek of failure, and like the first half of the movie is about that. I'm like, man, is this just Cobra Kai? Like, I didn't know they already did this. Twitch chat says you don't need to watch the original Karate Kid movies for Cobra Kai unless you want to watch. No, I mean, do I need to watch Cobra Kai for Karate Kid New Legacy or Legends or whatever it's called? I assume not. You don't recommend to watch 3 onwards because it becomes too corny. I didn't watch the next Karate Kid either. I think the heart of the original movie is Mr. Miyagi and Daniel-san. And those two are together in the next 2, and they're still the best part of those movies, but afterwards it's Mr. Miyagi with some other girl, and then Jackie Chan and Jaden Smith. But I think I'm all caught up for now. It'll be the next thing I watch. So let me ask you, Daniel-san, Dan the Man Show, since you are our guest here, how do you feel about the Nintendo Switch 2?
Wow, that was a perfect segue, I gotta say.
Yeah, well, we're an hour into this. I feel like we should talk about video games at some point.
How do I feel about it?
Yeah.
I think it's going to sell like hotcakes. I think it's already selling pretty well. I think that it is going to get a lot of positive reviews at first. That being said, I also think it's going to get a lot of detractors because we've had years and years and years of gripes about the Nintendo Switch. And a lot of those gripes don't seem to be, not a lot, but some of those gripes don't seem to be getting fixed with the Switch 2, which I got to say, I'm not going to lie. Okay, hot take, but I never cared that the Switch never had like a custom theme or that kind of thing. I'm glad it has a dark mode, and I'll use that dark mode. And like, if it means it'll run smoother than the Wii U menu did, I'll take it. That being said, the Switch eShop not having music and running that terribly, that is like inexcusable. That is terrible. And I sincerely hope the eShop, the shop where you buy games, not even a game, actually runs this time.
For me, it seems like it's a nothing to care about. Like, legitimately the only reason I wanted a new console was for the prospect of having a new Mario Kart and a new Smash Bros. That aren't like built on the previous ones. And we already got new Mario Kart. Like, as far as hardware goes, if you're just gonna get a Switch 2, that's fine, but I'm gonna have a Switch 2 and a computer, and if there's a third-party game I want to play, I'll probably just get it on Steam or on the computer. Like, I don't really take my Switch very often.
I get that. I mean, I don't PC game, and I haven't really PC game until I got a Steam Deck, and that's what I use to PC game. And I do like my Steam Deck a lot. But, I'm not really like a PC gamer as things are. I'm a Mac user, so that says a lot I me as a person. So feel free to
plug my controller into the USB because I refuse to learn
Final Cut Pro.
I know.
I refuse to learn keyboard and mouse. I still plug a controller into my USB port, even if I'm using my computer.
No, saying there are a lot of games that are just like not fun to play with a keyboard.
That's the other thing is that one of the big pitches of the Nintendo Switch 2 is like it has mouse controls. I'm like, I hate to tell you this, man. This doesn't affect me at all.
I don't
even
really
a little
care.
bit.
It's like, I might play Metroid with mouse for a bit, but like the fact that it has mouse and also gyro, I'm like, well, then I'm set. Yeah. Why would I even use the mouse controls? But like, I said this to you earlier.
Oh,
it looks fantastic.
Dan, you're cutting in and out like a little robot.
And it's like 0 word on it. Oh, damn. All right. Hold on.
You're good.
Nah, he's cutting out for me too.
Okay. It's his spirit in the sky slowly fading.
So I was saying that like, Donkey Kong looks fantastic. I think it looks like superb, but it's weird going into this new console, having like no idea what the new Mario game is going to look like. Like that seems so illegal. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like it seems like that's such a weird thing. And like, I really do want the Donkey Kong game to sell well, but like, I don't know. It's weird that there's no big line Mario game soon at launch. And even then, like, I don't even need like a new Mario game, but like the fact that they're not even like taking something like Odyssey, for example, and adding content for the quote Nintendo Switch 2 version, like that just seems like wasted like potential. Speaking of which, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I think that Donkey Kong Bonanza is a Mario 3D World situation. I've seen a lot of people echo the same sentiment. It's like, yeah, Donkey Kong's cool, but show me the new 3D Mario. I hate to say it, I think this Donkey Kong game they've been working on is likely developed by the Odyssey team. I think this is the 3D Mario. Like, I don't think they have one in the works.
Okay, so I agree. I think that, and I'm glad that like we have this game coming, and hopefully it's really good and it sells very well. but like the fact that they're not even like taking advantage of the Switch 2 editions and doing anything like post sequel for these very popular Mario games.
Well,
like,
that we know of.
That seems like interesting that they're not like doing that from pretty close to the beginning, I'd say.
YouTube chat is saying,
like,
ain't too crazy, GameCube launched with Luigi's Mansion instead of mainline Mario. I was going to use that as an example, but then I remember that Sunshine launched like a year or two after. Like, it wasn't that far removed.
Yeah, Luigi's Mansion was the launch, and then Mario was pretty soon after, yeah.
Yeah, I think if there is a 3D Mario anywhere in development, we wouldn't see it for like 2 or 3 years from now.
Yeah, and that's fine with me. It's just it's interesting that like Donkey Kong is the way they went, and I'm not complaining. I'm not complaining at all, but like the series has been dormant for like 10 years now. And it's just fascinating that that's the way they went.
This is something we've talked about here before, that like everyone knows the character Donkey Kong, but very few people have like played the game since the Super Nintendo. So I think this is the correct decision to make. That's like, oh, we should make a major Donkey Kong game. Because like even, I mean, Switchy, you were saying earlier that like, oh, you know, my parents didn't play games. People older than me didn't know anything about games. Everyone knows Donkey Kong, even if they don't play games. My parents back in the day would always call my DS the Game Boy, and it pissed me off. Yeah, they know Donkey Kong. So making a game, whether they play it or not, maybe just to get for their kids, they're like, oh, this is Donkey Kong. I know Donkey Kong. I like Donkey Kong. I'll get it for my kids. I can't imagine there's a lot of carryover from Donkey Kong Country. It is very strange that they even bothered to make a port of Country Returns. Like, the farther we get from that decision at the beginning of this year, it seems to stand out way more, because every other
how much they were advertising it.
Yeah, every other example of Donkey Kong on the Switch now, they've changed the design already. So it's weird that they released that game. It would have been better if they just didn't, ultimately. Like, I'm glad it's on the Switch, but
I know it's weird, and it's even worse that they did it after Tropical Freeze, which is a much better game. Like, it's strange, that decision. And you know, in regards to the whole Donkey Kong design debate, I think it's dumb. I think like they're both fine. That being said, I think it's a little strange that they replaced the profile pic.
I didn't like that.
I'm like a little like,
they're trying to cover something up.
What are you trying to do here, Nintendo? It's just that seems like a little bit of erasure.
It's a cover up. Something's going on.
It is a bit of a cover up. And you know, I said this to you earlier last week. I literally said to you, I'm like, you know what, if they fix the frame rate of Bowser's Fury, it could get a resurgence, and it could be like the hot button game for like a month online.
Release 3D World a third time.
Exactly.
Yeah, like, literally.
So Dan, did you end up getting your pre-order?
Okay, so let me tell you the pre-order story.
Of course.
So
oh my fucking
God. I don't really know. I unfortunately, you know, I just, you know, there's so many stories, so I apologize if you said it and it's fallen to the wayside.
I like hearing everyone's story.
On the day, so it's pretty interesting. I've been hearing horror stories all around. On the day of the pre-orders, normally my go-to store with these kinds of pre-orders is Amazon, but ever since something happened last year, something fucked up happened, and now they just don't do anything Nintendo first party at all. Like, at all.
They don't. Yeah, it's
for
weird.
Pre-orders or orders. I'm like, what happened? What specifically happened? And like, nobody has an answer. Nobody has an answer. People say it's because it got leaked street date early with like Tears of the Kingdom and whatnot. It got leaked. That happens with like stuff like Best Buy too, and they're buddies with Best Buy. And B, that's not even why, but nobody knows why. But that's besides the point. Anyway, so it's, you know, it's whatever. It was like a Wednesday or something, right?
Yes. Wait.
I think it was a Thursday at 12 a.m.
It was April 23rd.
So, you know, Wednesday into Thursday. So
because
Wednesday,
I
like
remember that's when the Me at the Zoo video went up, and I was very meticulous about getting that up at the right time.
Right. So it's like Wednesday into Thursday. I have I sign into all these sites: Target, Best Buy, Walmart. I already had accounts with them for like previous things. My go-to was Best Buy, just because I had the best like experience with them prior. But you know, if that didn't work, there was also Walmart and Target. You know, I just had them all up just in case. You know, I had the pages open to both the regular and the bundle just in case. I signed in. I updated all my you know, address info, my payment info. I added Apple Pay as an option because I heard that that would be quicker. And you know, we all know what happened at midnight on that Thursday. All of the stores basically shit the bed. All the storefronts basically died from just an overload of people. And, you know, I was just refreshing. I had Wario 64 and Nintendo on notification blast, you know, just ready to go. And eventually I did see it on Target using the app, like the phone app. And I added it to my cart and I checked out. And I checked out with Apple Pay. And it said the payment method was declined, but then I looked at the order and it still went through. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. I put it on a credit card, so it wasn't the fact that it was like a you know, lack of funds, and it was nowhere near my limit either. So you know, it was like, I don't know why that happened, because it was probably like a large expense. That's probably why it was declined, but it still went through, like I said. But anyway, I thought to myself, you know what? Let me try to order another one, because they're not going to charge me until it ships anyway. So let me order another one and just see if that goes through. So the rest of the time was me on the Target app, like refreshing and checking and refreshing and checking. Meanwhile, Best Buy, I don't know what was going on with Best Buy. They were just like an hour or two late to the party. And I had joined the queue for Walmart, but I actually never did this with Walmart before. So I like never really had an idea of like what to expect. But like I'm refreshing the queue, I'm checking all the pages, and I go to the Walmart page. I'm like, oh, it says I'm ready to go, and I can add it to my cart and check out. And I did. I added the bundle, and I checked out, and like no errors, no issues, no anything. I'm like, oh, that was surprisingly simple. And this is at like 12:30 at this point. I'm like, I was not expecting it to be this fast.
Okay.
I'm like, you know what? Just to be safe, let me order it again on Target, just to be safe. So then the next hour and a half was like getting the Target app working. And then finally, I ordered a third Nintendo Switch with Target, not using Apple Pay, just using normal credit card information, which I did for Walmart too. And that went through. So right now I have 3 orders in. I'm probably going to cancel 2 of them like a week or 2 before they ship out, just because I don't really need them. I'll probably stick with Walmart because they seem like the most reliable.
I got mine through Walmart.
It seems like with Walmart specifically, they're actually, in regards to delivery and shipping, they're actually having someone drive to the store, get it, and bring it to you. So
okay, so you're getting delivery pre-order, like to your house.
Yeah.
I am
exactly.
too. I wanted to get one there, and I wanted to like do the midnight release. I'm gonna try. I'm not gonna do anything about my current pre-order because I'm not gonna risk like messing with it because I got people coming over.
Right.
But I want to like maybe go there if they are open at midnight and just like I don't think they're gonna have. There's definitely no more pre-orders. They might have. I know Best Buy is saying they still have like limited stock that isn't pre-ordered. Something like that. I at least want to like be there to document it, maybe just bug people because I've always wanted to go to like a console launch midnight release. But it says in my email that's like, oh, it's delivering by I don't know what time it is, or I hope that's true. I hope it's not like, oh, it's coming out the next day.
When you look at the order, when you look at the order for Walmart, is it a truck or is it a grocery bag?
Ooh, let me check real quick. I'm going to open up my email.
Because if it's a grocery bag, that means it's actually going to be picked up at the store and delivered to you by a driver.
It looks okay. So in my email, it's just a cardboard box. Checking out right now. It is a bag. It's a grocery bag.
Okay, so that means someone's actually going to drive to the store and pick it up and drive it to you.
Okay. I wonder if I could drive with them. Can I just hop in their car? Because that's my Switch. Can I get in there?
Oh, that's funny. But okay, so like meanwhile, speaking of Best Buy, Best Buy, like that was the one store I had 0 luck with. And like I did the queues, I did all that, and it just never worked. And I'm like, you know what? I wish it was with Best Buy, but I got 3 solid right now. And you know, I was like thinking about like the next day I was thinking about, you know what? should I go to GameStop? Just put my name down. But then that's how I find out that my local GameStop like shut down in January. I'm like, oh my God. Well, never mind.
Nobody
guess.
told me.
And off topic, but kind of on topic, on the talk of midnight console releases, I was at a midnight console release back in 2017, but not the one you're thinking of. Not the one you're thinking of.
Oh boy, was it the Stadia?
PS4 Pro or some shit? I don't
know. It was the NES Classic Edition.
Oh, forgot about that.
And I was like one of 6 people who got it. I got there at 11 o'clock at night in like the middle of downtown Boston, and there's one person ahead of me, and then the line started. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna get an NES Classic Edition. Nice.
I mean, that rules. Because I have this idealized perspective of like seeing YouTube videos back in the day or like news recordings of like, oh man, the Wii midnight launch, forgetting that like that console was sold out like almost immediately. It was impossible to find one for a while. I have this idealized console launch that has never existed as long as I've been alive, of like just finding your local store and camping out outside of it. I always find that really fun and I want to be a part of it. So maybe I will just go just to like record it and just to be there in the moment, as if it is even doing a midnight launch. I have to check out what places are and aren't doing it because it isn't far from me, and I think it'll be a part of the experience. But I don't think I'll change my pre-order. It'll get to me when it gets to me, whenever that is. Right. Or because like the idea is like, oh, maybe I can go into Walmart and say like, hey, like somebody's gonna pick this up and bring it to me. Can I just pick it up here? I could still ask. I don't want to. It's kind of like having a Jenga tower though. I don't want to do anything with the pre-order that might change it even a little bit because there simply are no more pre-orders, and I got a lot riding on this right now. But that's the catch-up we needed of the feeling on the Switch 2 and the pre-orders. Ever since the pre-orders happened, we've been having a different guest on every week to discuss their pre-order experience, how it went with them. So this is a valuable insight. We're both Walmart heads, I believe. We both got it through there. So you're going to be playing that day one.
Yeah, I mean, I might be. That being said, I need to like really crank out these videos. So I might wait till the weekend, but like even then, I will say like I've just seen the online discussion. I'm sure it was a problem for a lot of people, but like as far as like wanting to get like a console, and I was there for like I was in the trenches for some of these. That was like one of the more straightforward ones, even with all the fuck ups from all the websites.
Yeah, I mean, you did need to put forth. Like you had to like be in there. Like I had all the tabs open and I was switching back and forth.
No, you had to like people don't realize you have to have all the info. You got to have an account. You got to have the information. You got to have the payment information, shipping, billing. You got to have that all set up.
That was the biggest issue for me. Is I had it set up.
That's on you.
I had it in my cart, and then it's like, oh, pick which Walmart, what your address is, and I kept trying to like put my address on my card in, and it was like, oh, sorry, our system's down right now. That was the biggest issue. No. I got it in my cart immediately, but I had to like put in my information. It sounds like you had a much easier time in the grand scheme of things.
Well, I mean, did you have more than one address?
It was set to my mom's address, and I was like, no, I want it to be my new place because I just never changed it. Because how often do you order things from Walmart?
I don't. I ordered one.
It never came up, I guess.
I ordered one thing from Walmart ever online, and it was the Ace Attorney anime season 2 Blu-ray. And I ordered that from Walmart, and they sent me a country music CD.
That's close. Almost got it.
It's just like, damn. Well, this is exactly what I ordered. Thanks, Walmart.
That's why no one fucking ordered from Walmart.
They sent you the CD case, but I'm picturing like you get the Blu-ray case, but you open it up and the disc is just as a country music CD.
That would be like even worse because that's like salt in the wound.
Right. That means because the country music CD, that could be an accident, but if they sent you the game and there's a disc inside it, that's malicious. That means someone had to open it up and replace it on purpose.
Oh, that reminds me actually that when I was a kid, I was a teenager. I asked for a Blue Yeti for Christmas.
Nice.
And someone along the Amazon Prime kind of, supply chain cut a hole in the box and stole it.
Really?
Which is, yeah. So we got like literally there's like a heist on my Blue Yeti, dude.
Oh my god.
Unfortunately, they just replaced it. They didn't give a fuck. But like it was funny that they just
I
had a whole
I thought that was
situation.
A heartbreaking story of like asking for something and your parents like mean really well, but then they get something that is like fully wrong and just isn't compatible at all. And you don't want to say anything because, like, you know, they probably spent money on it.
Lee Carvel's putting training.
I remember as a kid, I was like, I gotta get the black Wii U because the white Wii U was like 8 gigabytes. Like, you can't get anything on this.
Yeah, the white Wii U is stupid.
Yeah, nobody wants the white Wii U.
Well, I got the white Wii U and I'd have a smile on my
U.
face because what am I gonna do? Complain? Santa got it for me.
Like, yeah, Santa's a cheap ass who wanted to save $50 for a useless
and he
Wii U.
hates poor people.
He does. Santa he told me. It's you know, every time I made a Christmas list when I was younger, I always was like, okay, I want this game, I want the physical version, and I want it for this console. And I sent them the specific link. I'm like,
that's genius. You sent it to Santa?
I cannot make this any more specific. I even included a picture of what I was talking about.
With a
I'm like, I cannot make this any more
red
specific.
circle around it and a red arrow pointing to it.
Yes.
Dan, I had a distinct era in my life where I was still a kid and still didn't really understand, but I was watching like Screw Attack Top 10s and like the Angry Video Game Nerd, so I wanted to get into collecting old games. I distinctly remember this like I didn't feel anything at the time, but looking back I'm like, why I got an NES with the Zapper for Christmas one year, and it came with like Mario and Duck Hunt, like, you know, the whole NES setup. And I got it in a box. Not pristine, but like in a box, like in the NES box. And I ripped that box fucking open to get to the NES.
Oh my god, fucking sicko.
I tore that NES box to shreds.
If it makes it feel better, I did not keep any of my N64 or Game Boy Advance cardboard boxes.
I have my Wii and 360 onwards, but now I have so much cardboard and I don't have anywhere to put it.
I think I might have thrown away a Switch case. Maybe I didn't. I don't remember.
I mean, they're still selling Switches.
I'm still sick. I'm still the kind of guy who's like sick of that shit. Like, I'm like, ugh.
Yeah, it's definitely packing up, and the more and more I get. The coolest thing I have in my cardboard reservoir, though, is when they were, before they were doing Amiibo, but after Skylanders had hit it big, they were doing Pokemon Rumble U, that one WiiWare game.
Oh, the scam, right.
You could get those little gotcha Pokemon Rumble figures, and they were each like $1 or something, or like $5 or something. And I went to the GameStop, and they had the cardboard standee on the desk with all of the gotcha things, and I knew that in each thing there was one of each Pokemon, and they just put it out. And I was like, hey, I'm gonna buy, there were like maybe 20 Pokemon, and I was like, I'm gonna buy all of them. Like, it's like $1 or $5 for each. I'm spending this money I got from doing chores or whatever, and I'm gonna buy it. All the Pokeballs in there. And they were like, oh, do you just want the box? So I have that Pokemon Rumble U box with all the little Pokeball gotchas in it. I did keep that, and it still has the receipt inside it. I don't know why I ripped through that NES thing, but I regret it still to this day.
How old were you?
Awesome.
What?
When was Rumble U? It had to have been like 2013, 2012, maybe? So it was like 11 or 12.
So you were like 12.
Hey, you think that's bad? You think that's bad? Okay, so I still have my GameCube with me.
Nice.
And
it's portable. It's got a handle.
Exactly. That's the main draw for the Switch. That's just like, you know,
Switch doesn't have a handle.
GameCube too. Just the GameCube too. Mm-hmm. But like, anyway, so I have the Game Boy adapter, right? Like the really cool Game Boy adapter. And I guess like 8-year-old me didn't realize that in order to play Game Boy games, you needed the Game Boy adapter and the disc that came with it. And I got rid of the disc. And if you look online on like eBay, that shit goes for like $300.
Oh, that bums me out. Sorry,
and I'm like,
man.
this is like this is my Joker moment right now.
Yeah.
Let me
ask, are you the type of people that, like, if you have something rare in your collection that you will sell it for a high price, or do you just like having that proud moment of I love holding on to things.
Yeah, no, that's like one thing.
Things.
You know, it's funny. I'm glad I nipped my retro game collecting in the fucking bud, because like I think one time, you know, after spending like 3 months of allowance on like an N64 that I didn't end up using that much, I'm like, okay, I gotta like stop doing this. Nowadays, honestly, I could probably like develop a collection and it wouldn't be that like financially impactful. But I think just like the amount of money I spent as a kid for how much time it took to get that money, just didn't really make it worth. So I just kind of don't have that habit anymore.
The N64 library is very small. One of my resolutions this year is to because I'm halfway through it, because the N64 has always been my favorite to collect and play. And I, every month, try and get a new N64 game and put it on my shelf, because I have these little custom tabs, because the N64 does not have end labels at all.
I have those too. I have those too. I got it from Etsy.
It has some weird missing ones. It doesn't have a Mario Kart one. The one I got on Etsy, it's weird. But I got all of the major N64 games aside from the very expensive ones. So what I get every month is fucking All-Star Baseball 2001 for $5, just to have everything, smart. Even if it's not games I care about. And I didn't do this on purpose, but we might as well cover stuff. Speaking of end labels, I don't know if you guys have seen this, but we got the first look at the Mario Kart World case, showing the back, spine art, and front on the Nintendo Today app. I did say I would keep up with the Nintendo Today app whenever interesting stuff happened, and I have not been doing that because I've been intermittently checking the app, and I haven't really seen anything. Keep seeing 3D models.
I did see today that they announced they're doing that thing that a lot of these electronics do nowadays, where they have the option to stop charging close to 90% in order to save battery life.
Yeah,
that's
I did
nice.
Hear about that. But that's the other thing,
and
too.
Apparently they also they didn't show it off, but apparently through that demo they also showcased that you have the option to lock your Switch with a pin. So
yeah, these are just modern technology. I did see both of those, but again, those are things that they're exclusive, quote unquote, or breaking stories on the Nintendo Today app. But then I just see them on Twitter when they show up on my feed.
Right.
And
exactly.
now that I'm looking at this case, I feel like I'm more annoyed now, because I thought when they first showed off the case, I was kind of with everyone that I didn't like how it looked, because I thought this red part here was a part of the plastic, and that the wraparound started here. But now I'm seeing that the red bit, the Red Nintendo Switch 2-bit at the top, is part of the folder, but then it just cuts off at the back.
You know what really bothers me? The Red Nintendo on the bottom. That's bothering
down
me a
here?
lot.
Yeah, there doesn't need to be both. I do like the centered text and the custom font. We'll see how many games keep up with that.
It's going to look so bad on a shelf.
The back looks way better. So bad. I am always championing collecting physical games, but when it comes to the Switch, because I take it places, I don't want to have to carry around the carts with me. So the Switch is that's my downloading console. I have Smash Bros, because it came with the Smash Bros controller, the Pro Controller, and I have the Sword and Shield double pack and the Scarlet Violet double pack, and then obviously Labo and Ring Fit that you have to have physical. But aside from that, everything else I have downloaded to my Switch, which will make it better for virtual game carts and game share. But do we know game share? You can game share with people on the Switch 1, right?
Now you can, I think,
because the tab is on Switch 1, but nobody can use it yet because the Switch 2 isn't out yet. So that tab, they updated the Switch firmware. We talked about this last week, or maybe the year before, or week before, that they changed, now that there is a concurrent consistency between the two Switches, but you can't use Game Share until the Switch 2 comes out anyway. I don't know if Switch 1s can use Game Share. I think when you try and use it, it says oh, you need a Switch 2 compatible with it, but this is what the cases currently look like. Does anyone have any very strong opinions on the Mario Kart World case, showing the back spine art and front?
Okay, here's the thing. If they're going to wrap around, I understand why they have to keep this stuff at the bottom, but at that point, what's the point of wrapping around? You know? What's the point? Why wrap around if you're not going to fully commit to the wraparound?
That's what I was saying about the red up here. It just cuts off right here. You can see that. Computer enhanced editor. Zoom in on that. That the red stops here. And I guess I prefer the back to cover up the entire thing, but people have said all they need to say about the cases. But ultimately, it doesn't really bother me because I got the... Oh, that's the other thing. Dan, did you pre-order the pack-in with Mario Kart World, or did you get them separately?
So as you can see, I don't know if you saw it yet, I sent you a photo, and that is my Nintendo Switch physical collection. Okay. And...
Let me bring this up.
You know, if it doesn't, scream out to you immediately, it is... I'm an avid physical collector, even for the Nintendo Switch. You know, I am pretty scum like that. What can I say?
You like what you like. This is insane, actually. I'm gonna show this on
it's
stream.
a sea of red.
Let me
Just
show
a sea
this
of
right
red.
now. Yeah, just the it is consistent, I'll give it that. You have Nintendo World Championship as well. So you've been keeping up with these Nintendo releases. I've been doing a show on stream recently, like where every Thursday I play different Nintendo Switch games leading up to the release of the new one. And I've been slowly accumulating all the ones I didn't get. Sans your Xenoblades and your Fire Emblems, just because I haven't quite gotten into that yet. I hate JRPGs. Why don't they speak English? Like I can't. I don't understand it. It's awful. But I saw people in the chat earlier saying like talking about having to save up for the Nintendo Switch 2 for the Nintendo Switch 2 summer. And I do think we were talking about this earlier about like different eras or different years having defining moments in pop culture. I still believe that it is the case, because when I think back to like Barbenheimer and Pikmin 4 in summer of 2023, that's a very distinct era. And I think the Switch 2 is going to have an era as well. I can list off some stats for you because there is a third-party game that we're going to talk about later in this show. Is that now that I have the Switch 2 pre-order, I've been in a little bit of a funk, of a trough, of a pit, if you will, of not turning a profit so much. I had a really good year last year when it comes to content, so I thought I was invincible, and I'm like, you know what, I'm going to make all these major purchases for streams or otherwise, and then I gave myself a budget, and the budget did not recoup benefits. So now I'm trying to save a little bit. I got rid of my Hulu, so on and so forth. Apparently I was paying for Minecraft Realms every month. I'm trying to cut back best I can. And I have a very sizable backlog, a very beefy backlog. I can take a picture of my N64 collection right now, but it's far away and it'll be blurry. But I'm going to do my best to not get any major games, because when I'm streaming, I use it as an excuse, because they are business expenses technically, to get all the major games and play them. But I haven't played the new Oblivion. I know there's an Expedition 33 RPG. But I'm going to list out some stats for Switch 2 Ultra. Counting this episode, there are 2 more episodes of the show before I will begin playing Doom: The Dark Ages. I've been trying to finish Chibi Robo on stream, which is a donation goal, so I can dedicate all of May to playing Doom: The Dark Ages, so I can at least get a sizable amount of that done before the Switch comes out, because when the Switch comes out, that's going to completely overpower everything else I want to do. So I really liked Doom 2016. I played for the first time on the Switch because it was the third game I ever got. I checked the virtual game carts recently, and they actually have the download order of the order you've like bought or download them. And for me, it goes Odyssey, Breath of the Wild, Doom 2016. So that is so interesting.
Wait, so you bought Odyssey before Breath of the Wild?
I got the Switch at Christmas 2017.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. I was like, interesting. I'm sorry, just to go off on a tangent, I just wanted to answer your question from before. I am a physical collector, but I'm not paying $80 for Mario Kart. I got the bundle.
I have a friend of the show, who specifically got the $80 Mario Kart because she wanted the physical game. That's a very bold decision, I'll give her that. But we are...
with Mario Kart in specific, I think I'd be a little more up in the air if it was any other game but Mario Kart. But Mario Kart's one of those games that I feel like I'm going to be playing even after it falls out of like the realm of the internet, because it's always going to be like, everyone plays Mario Kart. You know, that's the one game everyone plays, you know? So it's like, you know, I'll boot up a game of Mario Kart. I don't got to take out a cartridge. I could just play it.
And they said that internet is free day one, right? Or at least
for like a year.
I always forget that 8 Deluxe is like one of the best-selling games ever.
Yeah, it turns out all it needed to be was on the Switch.
It just needed to be on a console people would actually buy.
Yeah.
Where's Woolly World? That's what I'm saying.
Well, it's coming, as far as we know, hidden in the background.
Woolly World sells 50 million copies. It just needs to be on the
Switch. They need to make a new one. They make a Switch 2 edition. That is exciting, is the prospect of getting games that were for the Wii U or remakes that were made for the Switch and getting Switch 2 editions where they add additional content. Like the prospect of like Super Mario RPG remake getting Switch 2 content, and they like 30 years later add DLC for Super Mario RPG. I think that's a really fun concept.
They kind of did in the original re-release. It's like, excuse me, I'm gross.
There's a different post-game,
they did have they added like post-game bosses in the remake.
Yeah.
But that's kind of it.
And we were saying earlier with Bowser's Fury plus 3D World, although it's the other way around, like the prospect of that getting new content It's like we've been playing 3D World for almost a decade now. I mean, I haven't because I didn't get it on the Wii U.
Over a decade.
Yeah.
It came out in 2013.
Oh my god, that's insane. Or even like Pikmin 3 Deluxe.
No, that would have been less than a decade because Fury came out in 2022.
Well, I'm saying like
we've been
current
playing
day,
3D
if
World.
they do a
currently.
re-release or something.
Okay,
like
yes,
that.
I see what you're saying.
So here are some stats for this show because we're gonna keep trucking along. This is with our 7th episode. I'm already halfway to where I was with my first podcast in 2019 when I just gave up or people moved away. Counting this episode, we are 2 episodes before the release of Doom: The Dark Ages. 4 more episodes until the release 2, and thus Mario Kart World and Welcome Tour. Don't forget Welcome Tour. Counting this episode, 10 episodes away from Donkey Kong Bonanza, 11 away from Mario Party Jamboree Plus. I know it has a longer title. I don't remember exactly. 12 episodes away from EVO, which every year on stream I just watch EVO in its entirety. So after that, I will have a lot to say about it. 16 counting this one before Kirby and the Forgotten World Starcross World. 17 counting this one before Daemon X Machina 2. I don't have any strong feelings towards Daemon X Machina, but that's really the only other thing coming out. And also in there this year, there's allegedly there's a Death Stranding and a Metal Gear remake somewhere this year. We are counting this episode 55 streams away from the release of GTA 6, and we do have a lot to say about that. We'll go over the tertiary news. And in 2026 has a Tomodachi Life, an Enter the Gungeon 2, a Rhythm Heaven, and allegedly an Elder Scrolls 6. You know, we'll see how that turns out. That we don't have release dates for. So we have
I doubt
a timeline,
I doubt
a map
Elder Scrolls
here.
6.
So we'll run through the stuff that's we could talk about right now. We very thoroughly went over this case. I think we've said all we have to say about this case. Look at it one final time. Oh, all right, there it is. During this Virtua Fighter Direct, I have never played a Virtua Fighter game. But over the last couple of years, I've been getting myself into playing the most recent Tekken and the most recent Street Fighter. When I was in California, I would do my best to scooter down to the local mall because I was older than I felt. Or no, sorry, I was older than I was supposed to be. And I would go to the mall and just play Street Fighter 5 there on the machines against whoever was playing. And whenever a dude showed up in like a specific cosplay and plushies in the backpack, I'm like, all right, I'm going to get washed. This is about to kill me. But this new Virtua Fighter game, or Virtua Fighter Revo, because I think Virtua Fighter 5 is already out, is releasing on console, because I think it's only been a PC exclusive for a while, across both PS5, Xbox Series X and S, Nintendo Switch 2, and Steam. So now we have, this says November 5th, 2025, so at least we have an additional game, because Salty listed off a bunch of other third-party games. Last week, we now have an additional game added to that, Virtua Fighter 2025 for Virtua Fighter Revo. This is a Sega game, and I don't know if you guys remember, during the Game Awards one year, they showed off a bunch of, like, oh, we're going to reclaim all of our titles, and they showed off, like, new Jet Set Radio, new Golden Axe, and we haven't really heard anything, maybe new Crazy Taxi, but it seems like entering the fighting game sphere is the best way to go about this. Have either of you played a Virtua Fighter game?
No.
I played a bit of the original with, like, the polygons.
I do love that aesthetic.
So, other than that, I can't say I have, but, you know, that it looks fun.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's just important to note that a game that is going to run on PS5 and Xbox Series X, supposedly, and S, is also going to be on the Switch 2. We've been hearing more and more about hardware for the Switch 2, and once we cover all these other topics, we'll get into GTA 6, which is what I really wanted to talk about. And there's only console releases. Well, we'll get into that trailer for a second. We'll build off on top of that. The important bit here is this company, Arc System Works. They have made several games, but mostly fighting games. I think they do Double Dragon and Guilty Gear. Yeah, Guilty Gear Strive. And they did Another Code Recollection for the Nintendo Switch last year, I think, which is a game I didn't hear much about, but it's not really in my wheelhouse. They had a huge asset leak recently, and it's not really going over all of the stuff, because, you know, whenever leaks like that happen, it's mostly just employee emails or something. But the only thing worth noting is that the asset leaks revealed that they had a game coming out. We don't know what the game is, but it was in the documents listed as both a Switch 2 launch title and releasing in March 2025. Now, March 2025 has already happened, And that is around the time we got the trailer for the Switch 2 in January, and then we got our Direct at the end of April, and then it was announced for June. We don't know how long that game was in development or what it even was, or maybe it is still releasing. But it seems like at some point, at least to this third-party company that is close with Nintendo and makes Nintendo-published games, that the Switch 2 release date was at some point going to be March 2025.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I mean, isn't that basically when that's around the time that the Switch 1 launched, right?
Yeah, it was March
I think it was like the
2017,
14th, the 15th, or the
and
16th
it was
of
shown off
2017.
October 2016.
And
Yeah.
then the presentation was January, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So
there are
that
still
makes sense.
several questions about the way they went about things on the Switch 2, that they seemed to do the announcement for the console. Even though it was a full CG trailer, they seemed to kind of do it last minute because assets got leaked. And then they announced a Switch 1 Direct like a week or so before the Switch 2 Direct. The way they went about this entire thing is very strange, which leads me to believe that they intended to release it and announce it sooner. And then had to, but that leads even more questions about the likes of Donkey Kong Country Returns HD or whatever it's called, if that was supposed to be like months before the Switch 2. But we also don't know how far away this leak was from. It could have been from like 2023, and they were shooting for March 25. We don't know how trustworthy this is. I don't know a whole lot about Arc System Works, but I thought it was at least worth mentioning.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of things,
my opinion is I like Another Code Recollection.
I haven't played it. Game. What is it? Is it one of those visual novel games?
It's like a half puzzle, half visual novel kind of game.
I do like puzzles. Did you play Emio the Smiling Man? I only played it for a little bit.
No, and like it's the Famicom games have been on my list for a while now.
Yeah.
But like I just, I got really into Ace Attorney, and then from there I got into Danganronpa, and that was a mistake, but I got into it. And then from there, I was gonna get into like Zero Escape and that like whole thing. And like I still really want to get into it, but then my life got really, really busy, and I just don't have the time to like sit down and play those games. Because if I did, I'd play the hell out of Zero Escape, because like I know like I'd have words and such about it, and I want to experience it. And I've actually kept myself pretty spoiler free of it for the most part. But like, I wish I had the time to sit down and play those again. But Another Code was good because it was like a very short, not like super short, but like much shorter than like what I normally play in that realm. So it was definitely, it was fun. I never played the I think it was a Wii or DS game. I never played those games, so it was fun to play it, and I'm glad that we got a US release. I'm never gonna complain that we get a US release of a Japanese only game. I'll never complain about that ever.
I always play single player games predominantly on stream, and when it comes to visual novels, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna read all this dialogue, I want to give everyone a voice. And after like 2 hours of voice acting for everyone where it's just nonstop reading, I'm like, I don't want to play this game anymore. I've exhausted myself. I'm gonna scroll down because the way Switchy's head is covering the latest news tab, it just looks like it says Jews on stream.
Oh no.
Scroll. It's fine.
Not me.
They got him. We did talk, it's not worth mentioning, but we, if we're cutting up loose ends on a previous stream, we're like, did you guys hear that one weird Kanye song? What a weird guy. And it has since gotten way worse.
Oh, dear Lord.
Now, Switchy, you wanted to talk about the Nintendo 3DS guide at the Louvre. Is that correct?
Yes, at the Louvre. Like, this is kind of like a fun little story because it's such a quaint little part of Nintendo history, in my opinion. And I would say that it's kind of emblematic of a previous incarnation of Nintendo that isn't entirely gone, but actually you could argue they'd still do something like this today. But for those of you who don't know, in about like 2012, actually it says 2013 there, the Nintendo partnered up with the Louvre in Paris, France, where basically people who go to the museum will be given Nintendo 3DSs that have audio tours. And the game, and it was basically, it was a software loaded on the 3DS, with little bits of, history, kind of had like, as I said, a guided tour. It had 3D models of the artwork, and you could just have a 3DS guided tour. And I actually remember about 8 months later, I was actually at the Louvre, and I remember seeing these fucking 3DSs. So it's a bizarre moment, but yeah, you would just be given a 3DS, you kind of like loan it, or I don't know, you kind of borrow it. I didn't do it. I didn't do it. But because I was part of a tour group, so we already had our own thing going on. But you could theoretically do it. You probably had to pay. I assume you did. But you just kind of get a 3DS, and you kind of told to look around. I guess you'd kind of hold it, and it would tell you where to go, and you would potentially be able to look down to get some more information. It's a fun idea. It's definitely fun. It's weird though, especially because like who thought of that? You know what I mean? This, I mean, I guess historically you'd always get like these like Walkmans or whatever. I mean, pre iPhone days, but we have iPhones now. We had iPhones then or whatever. So it's a very bizarre moment in history, just in general. Yeah. And it's funny. The first time I ever heard about this whole thing was when I was browsing Gilva Sunner's YouTube channel. Nice. For those of you who don't know, Gilva Sunner is an old YouTube channel that I think eventually got taken down, that would upload only Nintendo music, or actually not necessarily only Nintendo music, but usually games on consoles. And it basically had all the big songs. So you'd get like Smash Bros music there, you get Mario music, et cetera, et cetera. And one thing they did is they uploaded all the music from the 3DS guide for the Louvre, which is just kind of cute. I remember seeing that and kind of looking at them like I'm thinking, what the hell is this? And then I looked it up and I found out about this, 3DS thing with the Louvre. But they finally stopped it, and it's funny, it lasted almost 12 years. So I mean, I genuinely wonder if that was still a thing they had signs for, because I remember when I went, there were like signs up about, oh, borrow a 3DS from us. But I don't know if they probably kind of stopped advertising it as thoroughly as they used to. But it's so funny that they only just stopped it now, this 3DS kind of thing. And it's funny, I mean, maybe the editor can bring it up. There's like still old kind of content videos from the initial release where you see like Miyamoto walking through the Louvre like with a 3DS, and it's like adorable, and it's just kind of it's a reminder of, I think Iwata was there too. It's a real 2013 Nintendo kind of relic. But I think it's a really cool moment in history. It's a shame that it's gone, but it makes it, you get your fucking mini maps so you don't get lost at the Louvre. I don't know, it's definitely a weird idea, but I think I was planning to say this earlier when Dan brought up the eShop music thing, is that there's a lot of good things about the Switch. I think Nintendo nipped a lot of their worst habits in the bud when it came to marketing and stuff like that. But I think there were certain kind of elements. There's like a personality Nintendo had back then that was a little bit infectious. I think about how.
I don't disagree with that at all.
I'm sorry. I'm not trying to like argue. I guess I was reminded of that because you brought up how the eShop nowadays doesn't even have music, and I think to myself like, wow. Especially when you think about how the Wii Shop channel music.
I don't know how YouTube feels about artwork, but if it is a problem, editor, cover that painting's boobs. I scrolled down too far. All right, continue.
Oh yeah. So I'm like, it probably is fine. But anyway, you think about how the eShop, first of all, runs terribly and it doesn't have music. And just 2 generations ago, the eShop had this like weird bossa nova song that is burned in people's minds and is seen as like a classic. Done. And that is something that I think that is kind of a little bit sad about Nintendo sort of nipping certain habits in the bud that has good things but bad things too. I don't know, I was just reminded of that.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I mean, like I said, I think I'd rather have a eShop that works rather than an eShop that has music and also doesn't work. But like I said,
that's a good point.
It's like unacceptable that it has no music, and it's not like personalized at all. Like, running Mario for like a month. Oh, that's great. Wow, that's so personalized. Ooh, but like it's unacceptable that it runs worse than the Wii U eShop. That's unacceptable.
It's also like so much slop on it.
Yes, but that's kind of like a little bit of like a weirder, like different issue that like that's a whole other can of worms. Yeah, I think like if you go to any storefront, it kind of has that problem.
What were you saying,
I'm reminded now of the nightmare that was, oh, I want to buy this WiiWare So I have to search for it and kind of type it into the Wii with my fucking Wii remote and aim at the fucking letters. And then after that, I have to ask my mom for her credit card information and then put my credit card information into the fucking Wii with my Wii remote by pointing it at my TV. And that reminds, actually, you might have been able to use the nunchuck or something, but there's definitely an element that there's more ease of use nowadays in a lot of ways.
Yeah, of course.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Especially with just set up. I remember it still has. Do we know about the Switch 2 plug? Does it still have the brick on the end? Is it still a brick prong plug?
I would assume
Probably.
so. I mean, it has
Probably needs that for the power.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm glad the dock is like an actual thing now. As far as we know, I still haven't gotten my hands on it. As opposed to just a plastic shell where you just plug shit into.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have a whole lot built in. We're coming up on time here, so I'll just use this opportunity to play this trailer in the background while I'm talking about it. I said previously, and I've talked about it in both the Nintendo Switch videos when I talk about Smash Bros. And also the Xbox videos that are way older. Outside of Nintendo, there are very few franchises or companies that I am a huge fan of. And I've always said that, like, the big three for me, and I've said this basically the entire time I've been playing video games, it's always been Nintendo, Valve, and Rockstar. Now, when I say this, I'm talking about their output of games. I'm not talking about any of their anti-consumer prospects, because that applies to all game companies. And I think that's always the case with Nintendo, is all the worst things you can say about them are less about the quality of the games and more just about how they operate as a business. And I think this trailer dropped. Let me see. It was May 6th. So it was before the last episode of Switch 2 Ultra. I could be getting that wrong. Or no, maybe it was after, because was it the 5th? I don't know exactly. Let me check real quick.
It was the 5th.
Yeah, it was the 5th. Okay, so it was right after. Okay, so this is perfect. I didn't miss anything. And at first, when I heard about it, and I heard, like, because they dropped the trailer a day after it was announced that the game would be delayed. So I already had it in my head that the game was going to be delayed. Because it said, like, fall 2025, and I thought maybe we could see something at the Summer Games Fest. But I doubt it. They're not going to announce the game like right before it comes out. And there's a stark difference between trailer 1. We've seen 3 looks at this game, at GTA 6, Grand Theft Auto 6. And it was, 1, a leak from 2022, like an engine leak, and then, for lack of a better term. Then there was the first trailer last year or the year before. I think it was the year before, that they released to kind of cork the literal leak of that game. And that, if we're following the trajectory of GTA 5, was just the trailer that's showing that the game exists, which we already knew. Whereas this trailer, I'm just going to play it right now. Do you guys have any strong feelings about Grand Theft Auto? Because I played the shit out of GTA 5, and I've been playing it for over a decade now. I'm so glad that this and Mario Kart are happening at the same time, because those are two games we've been playing since 2014. By the way, Stephen Root, shout out to Stephen Root.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, I said this joke in a few servers. I'm like, yo, let's go. We're getting more Barry. Hell yeah, I love Barry. Mm-hmm. Shout out to all the Barry fans.
Oh, I love Barry.
Basically, I got into it like a lot. Okay, so it's actually a funny story. Mm-hmm. GTA 5 was a huge game, and my parents never had an issue with the mature games. And my GameStop was doing like if you trade 2 listed games in, you get GTA 5 for free on your console, your console of your choice. And I traded in Mario Party 9.
Nice.
And I want to say, God, I'm trying to remember. It was Mario Party 9, and I think it might have been like Sonic and the Secret Rings or something. I traded those both in, and I got GTA 5 on Xbox 360, and I loved it. I loved it. Oh my God, I loved it. It was, I played the shit out of that for like 3 years. You know, like, you have all these new gens. I don't like to call them new gens, but they're new gens. You don't know what it was like waiting for the heist to come online.
Oh,
you weren't there for that.
The first year
we were
of
there
online. Okay, so granted, I had the game on 360. I convinced my grandpa to buy it, even though it was mature, because you needed to have an adult there to help you buy it. And my console couldn't run it because I didn't have enough space. And my one friend, when I was a kid, his console could run it, but he wasn't allowed to play it. So I would go over to his house, and we had like shared custody of this game. I would sneak it in my bag, and we would trade off playing through it. And he would try and get through the campaign, and I would steal cars and crash into shit. And it would constantly go back and forth. As far as online goes, I didn't buy it for myself until I had an Xbox One that, like, I was at the point where I was allowed to have a credit card saved onto a console, so I didn't have to go into a store and buy something. So I got GTA Online when it went on sale in 2015, when the heist update happened. So I actually wasn't there the first year of Online.
Oh, you weren't
This is
there.
Bobby
You
Monahan,
weren't there
by the way.
you weren't in the trenches. Yes, okay. So I'll talk about that. I want to talk about that.
Yeah, let's get a nice frame of him. There he is.
Correction. It wasn't Sonic and the Secret Rings. It was Mario Party 9 and New Super Mario Bros. 2. So it wasn't even a Wii game. It was a Wii and a 3DS game, and I don't regret it. Anyway,
that's a good ass trade. I'll be honest.
I forgot
right?
Mario
Isn't
Party
that a
9
great
was a
trade?
Wii game. You're right.
Anyway,
that and 10 are just together in my brain.
So I will say, in the first clip we see of this character, that is a very, 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 very spot on Dana Snyder. Without, I'm going to say this is without him trying to sound like Dana Snyder.
There's been a lot of discourse about whether or not this is Dana Snyder, but it's very clearly
because
modeled
people only
after
play
Bobby.
the first clip.
Yeah,
they only play the first clip, and I'm like, if you only listen to the first clip, totally fair, because that sounds like Dana Snyder. I thought it was Dana Snyder when I first heard it, and I wouldn't blame anyone for saying otherwise. Especially because it begins
with Stephen Root.
Exactly. And then the second time, first of all, when I first watched it, I didn't even realize it was the same character. But then when I watched the trailer again, it was the same. I realized it was the same character. I'm like, that's not him. And at first, I thought it was Andy Richter. Fucking Mort from Madagascar. Oh. I'm like, what's Andy Richter doing here? But then, the more I thought about it, I'm like, wait a second. That's Bobby Moynihan. Mm-hmm. There's no way that's not Bobby Moynihan, because, like, I think about it and I'm thinking to myself, you know what? Bobby Moynihan could easily sound like Dana Snyder if he, like, did the right impression.
And vice versa, perhaps.
Yeah, and vice versa.
Real quick, and Twitch chat is saying a reminder that Dave Willis was in GTA 5 as a voice cameo. Are you referring to the fact that you can you can open up a radio station, the Fly Low radio station, and hear Carl Bertanalowski complaining about the music choices? Is that what you're referring to?
Yes, it's beautiful.
I hope we get more of that.
I hope so too. Oh my god,
Dan! Every Saturday we try and I make a game night for the Discord patrons, and the last couple Saturdays for like a month, or no, for like 6 months we've been playing GTA Online. If you have it on PC, you should definitely play with us.
I can't do this Saturday, unfortunately.
Oh, no worries.
But I mean, maybe in June.
Oh wait, hold on. When he says "shots, baby," let's hear this classic line.
Ring the bells.
Yeah, that does sound like Dana Snyder. But then we
totally
get to physical. I don't know how mocap this trailer is. I guess I'll talk about that if we're not analyzing the trailer, going over all the stuff in the. We'll save this for another day on the website, since Switchy is a genuine Floridian. And I think we could probably pinpoint this together. This is what I know about the game is it's supposedly set in South Florida. Although this map, I don't know where we're getting the map from, but it seems to include the little lip of North Florida. So maybe they condensed it. And
so what I'm seeing is something based off of the Keys, which is kind of a lot closer to the rest of Florida. I assume the Miami-Dade area, which is what Vice City is based off of. I assume the lake is Lake Okeechobee. And on the west side, I actually wouldn't know for sure. Like, that seems to be a different city. Maybe it's based on Naples or Tampa. I actually don't know West Florida too well because I don't go there that often. And they have something in the Panhandle. Sorry, that was my phone, not yours. Yeah, there's something based on the Panhandle, but as far as I don't know if this is the in-game map or something, there doesn't seem to be anything up there. So
yeah, I think this is like. I don't know what this is. This is like a project, the community mapping project. I don't know if this is the landmark. Maybe this is from the leak originally, and they're trying to place locations from the trailer or shown on the website, because there are a lot of locations shown on the website. You got your Vice City. You got your. When I'm scrolling really fast, it looks ridiculous. They have like the gator parts, all the stuff like that. But I played GT. You know that meme of that guy who played so much Assassin's Creed, and then when they went on a field trip, he knew where to go when they got lost. I've been playing GTA Online. I have lived in Los Santos for over a decade now, and then I moved to California for a bit and lived in Long Beach. So I was like, oh, that's the Maze Bank building. That's the Ferris wheel. Like, I knew where some stuff was, although I'm mostly location blind. So it gave me a weird sense of nostalgia when I was there. I'm like, oh, this is just like GTA Online. So this is showing, it seems like they cut out the middle and have South Florida and North Florida. I have never been back to where I lived when I was a child. I was born in Pensacola, which is on the real map right up here, right in the top left.
Yeah.
So I hope at some point...
bordering Georgia?
I believe so. It is at the very...
Might be bordering Alabama, I forget.
Oh, cool.
Let me see.
One of the two.
But I hope that some form of an in-game version of Pensacola is in this game, so I can visit. It's like my birthright, you know. I can go to the motherland.
Yeah, it's bordering Alabama, bro.
Of Pensacola, Florida, in game, so I don't have to go there physically. We're placing location.
Oh wow, yeah. No, I mean, I'm looking at it, and you know, it's not so much in this trailer. I remember in the first trailer, I was looking at all these little bits and pieces of the kind of architecture, and it really is just the spitting image of the actual Miami, Florida, in both the kind of, you know, like high rises, the rural apartments, the kind of the kind of like suburbs and stuff. They really have something really cool here, and I don't know. I mean, I remember like going to California last year and kind of looking around. I'm like, what the fuck, dude? I feel like I'm in GTA.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad we all have the same stance on this. That like when I heard the game's delayed, I'm like, yeah, whatever, who cares? But after like having all this is a stark difference from the previous trailer where it was just a trailer announcing that the game existed. This is so much key art and images, and now we have a release date, and we are 55 episodes counting this one from the release of GTA 6. But I think I'm thoroughly like on the hype train now. If it gets delayed.
Oh yeah,
again.
I mean, honestly, I think it's gonna be good. I would be surprised. I mean, it might have like a few GTA isms that some people don't like. I know a lot of people don't like 5's story, but I think I don't think they're going to. If you like 5's presentation, I think you're gonna like 6's presentation. I'd be surprised if they
What location do you think is this most like? Is there like a biker area? Because it seems they have a lot of this map. That's the thing I'll say about GTA 5 is it had a very big map, but a lot of it was a big mountain that you had to drive the same highway around. So I'm glad that this map is big, but I also hope it's very dense. I hope there's a lot to do in the map, and I hope that's why it's taken so long for them to release it. Yeah, May 6, 2026. We have, counting this one, after this one, 54 episodes of Switch 2 Ultra before this comes out. So I am very excited for this now all over again. I'm feeling my GTA era coming back, my Rockstar era. It's always like whenever Nintendo, Rockstar, Valve releases a large game, and Valve doesn't even do that anymore, and Rockstar has one every 7 years or so.
Yeah, exactly.
But when's
the next Rockstar table tennis?
So this says, wait, hold on. It says releasing PS5 and Xbox Series X and S, and it was captured on PS5, asterisk. So the fact that they included that S there, that might just be the logo Xbox uses, but, you know, if it runs on the Series S, there's a chance that it might run on the Switch 2 as well. Which, if it isn't on PC, I'm hoping for.
Well, there was that rumor that just came out today.
Oh,
I don't know if you heard about this. That apparently there's a rumor of a GTA 4 port coming to Switch.
I did hear about that. That's strange, but I've said this before. I just want every game,
or remake. I don't remember,
every game that people like to slowly be ported to the Switch, so you could just play everything on there. But although I am excited for this, my analysis or what I want to say about the trailer is apparently this is all in-engine footage. And I believe that it all is in-engine footage, but this is NPCs walking or cutscenes. Like, I believe that probably all of this is cutscenes. I don't think there's a single bit of gameplay in this trailer. And when GTA 5 was being announced, they had a trailer like this, and then the trailer closer to release, they released a gameplay trailer. And we do not know, realistically, anything about GTA 6 until we see that gameplay trailer. So right now, it looks very beautiful. It's a shame I have to play it on console before they release it on PC, but I want to play this game right away. I got to find a filler video for May or June so I can excuse playing this nonstop on stream and just in my free time, because I'm very excited for this. And that's all I have to say about GTA 6 for now. Did you have something you want to say, Dan?
Gotta do Attack in the Power of Juju video, man.
Or I'll just talk about GTA. I don't know. That wouldn't be a filler at all. I would have to watch the whole show and play the games.
It's like 26 episodes.
Still, that's not filler.
That's
I have
true.
to dedicate a month to that.
A cat scratch. That's it.
I already talked about that. Video. I'll just do it again. I'll just use the same.
Yeah,
footage.
do it again. You know, people complaining about there not being gameplay footage. I'm just thinking of the fact that like the only information we have about Skyrim 2 or Elder Scrolls 6 is that there's a mountain and a logo. And
Even
also
if.
people are saying that Roger Craig Smith voices the main character in GTA 6, which
that is not true.
I don't hear it.
He said it was not true. He said, I like the trailer, but it's not me.
I don't hear it at all. Because I'm like, guys, I know you like Sonic, but calm down.
No, the main character is actually played by Dana Snyder.
Oh, yes. You're right. You're right. And his girlfriend is Carrie Means.
Ooh. I think that more and more, because we saw the characters that sound and look like Stephen Root and Bobby Moornam, that they're going to do more of a mocap thing, which is what they did for GTA 5, where they modeled the characters after their voice actors. Although that wasn't mocap. That was just straight up animations. But that's all we have to say for this 7th installment of Switch 2 Ultra. We're going to try and bring more people on every week to talk about their pre-order time. More news will happen in between, and like I said, this, and then the next episode, and then I have a lot to say about Doom, and this, and then the next 3 episodes, and the Switch 2 will release. 54 episodes after this until GTA 5, GTA 6, my god. Fingers crossed for that. Do you have any closing remarks, the Dan the Man Show?
No. Just I apologize for the fact that this 14-hour video hasn't released yet, but it's coming. I can promise it's coming. And I'm hoping it comes in June, but right now it's looking like July. And if that's the case, I'm really aiming for July 4th, because damn, wouldn't that be just the perfect symbolic masterpiece of what I have been culminating for 2 years now.
Have you said anything about what it is?
Oh yeah, I mean, I've said it all the time. It's ranking every single episode of American Dad, the most original idea ever created.
I forgot how many episodes are there again?
2.
3. Right now there's over 380.
Okay, wow.
That's the
really
thing, is that
many?
they're still releasing new episodes. Well, I guess it hasn't been renewed. I think so, right? No, it's back on Fox now.
No, it has. It got renewed for 4 more seasons. But they just revealed today or yesterday. And they're not far off, actually. I think they're only at like 450 or like 460.
Yeah, I just searched it up.
Yeah. But, you know, they actually just revealed today that there's no new episodes of American Dad until 2026, which, you know, I'm fine with. That means I have a little bit more of a buffer.
And the thing you know,
it's definitely coming.
Is if that video is somehow monetized, when those new episodes come out, you could just tack it on the end, add like DLC and re-release the video again. I've been thinking about that, like the popularity of the recent Barnyard Red version, although it is a little egregious. That video's been doing pretty well. That I make red versions of older videos that are also very compromised. It might be worth doing, because I never thought I never understood the prospect, or I understood, but never wanted to be a person that kind of just like recycles content and releases in the middle of the month. But it's honestly probably a good thing, especially if I'm trying to fund greater projects. Might be worth looking into.
Right.
My next video, I started my first day of editing. Oh, it was yesterday. Now thoroughly in it, and it's going to be a lot smaller than the previous 2, so it'll be a lot easier on me. But it was going to be the end of May, but I actually pushed it back, not because I don't think it'll be done, but because it makes more sense to release it early June. And that's all I'll say about it right now. But so for this show, I have been your co-parent BH Ultra.
And I have been your co-parent Switchy.
And
I've been the child they never wanted, Dan.
And we'll never see again.